Chapter 246. Sir, do you want to kill all 3 foreign cultivators? Hu Yan saw Jiang Xi's expressionless face and thought that Jiang Xi wanted to kill them. He had read the information on the Earth's satellite network before and knew the subtle relationship between the Great Xia Kingdom and other countries. No need. Take them to a nearby island. Jiang Xi shook his head and chuckled. After pondering for a while, he now somewhat understood why Xian Tian had let go of those foreign spirit cultivators in the Jade Pool's secret realm. The reason he did this was to find a few opponents for the Great Xia Kingdom to have a sense of presence. It was because of the existence of these foreign cultivators that the warriors in the martial arts world of the Great Xia Kingdom would not slack off. Just like the relationship between monsters and humans on Earth, if it were not for monsters surrounding them, human warriors would not have improved so quickly. Crisis would make people burst out with a strong motivation. In just a moment, Jiang Xi found a beautiful small island. He threw the 8 golden core cultivators who were sleeping on the beach and asked Hu Yan to remove their sleeping restriction. Jiang Xi? When the people woke up and saw the scene in front of them, and Jiang Xi's figure, their faces changed drastically. They subconsciously believed that the previous arrest was done by Jiang Xi's men. Because the strange man standing behind Jiang Xi was dressed very similar to the person who captured them. The strange man seemed to be very respectful to Jiang Xi. They wanted to ask Jiang Xi the reason for all this, but they were worried that it would make Jiang Xi unhappy. They were all uneasy. One of the middle-stage golden core cultivators from the reclusive Qin family, who was the Qin family's patriarch, finally mustered up the courage to ask, Jiang Xi, what do you want to do? Looking at the uneasy looks of these golden core cultivators, Jiang Xi felt that it was very funny. However, this was also a very good opportunity to remind everyone of this. Jiang Xi coughed and chuckled. It's nothing. I just want to conduct a drill for the invasion of foreign enemies. Unfortunately, your adaptability is too poor. Drill? Their expressions eased a lot. Old Ancestor Qin smiled bitterly. Jiang Xi, you didn't say anything and suddenly did such a thing. You really scared us. Alas, but this exercise is a good warning. We old guys have been living too comfortably. If we really encounter danger, we'll be in big trouble. The ancestor of the reclusive Xu Jia also sighed. The others also nodded in agreement. Only the 3 foreign golden core cultivators dared not speak with a gloomy face. They could not understand. Why would Jiang Xi be so kind? Would they come to warn the cultivators outside the Great Xia Kingdom? Of course, there were also people who were curious about the background of the person who had just captured them. Jiang Xi knew what these people were thinking. These 8 people were captured by Hu Yan's 2 companions. However, he did not intend to explain Hu Yan's origin, and it was not easy to explain. According to Jiang Xi's idea, it was enough to keep these people in a state of anxiety. This was because the unknown would give them a huge sense of danger, which would prompt them to improve. And he was standing behind this unknown, staring at these people. Only when everyone became stronger would Earth become stronger. As for the situation outside Earth, he did not intend to announce it for the time being. First, he was afraid of trouble. Second, he was worried that these people would cause trouble if they knew about the situation outside Earth. This would expose him a lot of things. Who knew if there were more powerful old guys in these reclusive families who were sleeping? Unlike Xiantian and Li Bai, both of them were ordinary people and did not have to worry about these messy things. That was why he used such a lame lie as a drill to deceive everyone. It turned out that the more powerful a person was, the more likely they were to be convinced by the lies they told. These 8 people believed Jiang Xi's words without a doubt. Well, this drill is over. Everyone, go back to your homes. Jiang Xi clapped his hands and made a gesture to call it a day. From the beginning to the end, Hu Yan had been standing behind Jiang Xi and did not say a word. The 8 people did not hesitate and quickly flew away from the island. Then, they were divided into 2 groups. The 5 golden core cultivators of the reclusive family stopped in a wilderness area by the coast. The youngest Qin, did you see the origin of the strange man beside Jiang Xi? The patriarch of the Xu Jia frowned and asked. No, that man has never appeared before. It was as if he appeared out of thin air. The man who caught me was the same. His cultivation was at the late stage of the golden core realm. He subdued me with just a few moves. He was terrifyingly strong. The patriarch of the Qin family shook his head. The one who caught you was a man? Then why was the one who caught me a woman? Were you also caught by a woman? Me too. The other three patriarchs of the reclusive families looked at each other and were stunned. Was Jiang Xi driving an unknown reclusive force? Otherwise, how could three powerful late-stage golden core realm cultivators appear at once? I've heard that some ancient orthodoxies on Earth are not extinct. They're just hidden in places that we don't know about. Could Jiang Xi be from there? The patriarch of the Shujia said with a horrified expression. It's very likely. Otherwise, how could Jiang Xi improve so quickly? Think about it, he's only been cultivating for a few years, hiss. As soon as this speculation came out, everyone gasped in shock. They finally made a decision. When they returned, they would warn their juniors not to provoke Jiang Xi. Then, they would have to work hard to cultivate. Otherwise, if they were ambushed one day, they would really be gone. The three foreign cultivators flew to the other side of the ocean and gathered together. They had more guesses and worries than the patriarchs of the reclusive families. The three of them came from the Dark Shadow Kingdom, the Peacock Kingdom, and the Holy Alliance. They were the only pillars of their respective countries. Once they fell, the sky would really fall. The three of us must establish an offensive and defensive alliance. Set a national policy. At least for 100 years, don't provoke the Great Xia Kingdom, and don't provoke Jiang Xi. In a valley in the Yi Mountain secret realm. This valley was the place where the dragon python usually lived. At this time, a giant bird of the spirit gathering stage was anxiously guarding here. This was the child of the dragon python. During the beast tide in the Yi Mountain secret realm, it was taught a lesson by Jiang Xi. Roar! The giant bird saw two huge figures flying in from the outside. It was the dragon python and the black tortoise. Roar! It quickly went to greet them with a surprised roar. When the two golden core stage demons saw the giant bird, their mood was very complicated. Alas, Uncle Black, this is really embarrassing. The dragon python smiled bitterly. Don't say any more. Little dragon, cultivate well. Now you know that there's always someone better than you. The black tortoise sighed. Thinking of what Jiang Xi said to them on the island just now, the two demons were very shocked. The two demons had a plan in their hearts. They were now the only two golden core stage demons of the demon race on Earth. They had the responsibility to be the guardians of the demon race. Therefore, they were going to take the time to hold a gathering of demons and gather all the demons of the spirit gathering stage. Then, they would announce two things: don't provoke humans, and don't provoke Jiang Xi. As for those monsters below the spirit gathering stage, they were not demons and were not under their jurisdiction. Chapter 247. In the distant pale blue star region, in a flourishing galaxy. This was the headquarters of Qin Xian sect, one of the top 10 immortal sects in the Kanglan star region. Old ancestor Qin Xian was not in the Qin Xian sect. He had left the sect 1,000 years ago to explore the world. The current sect master, Qin Yi, was currently communicating with old ancestor Qin Xian through the communication pearl. Both of them were waiting for good news from the distant starry skies. With this opportunity, I will have a chance to reach the Tao integration stage. Even though old ancestor Qin Xian had experienced countless life and death battles and had a heart as firm as steel, he still couldn't hide his excitement. Although he was only at the late stage of the nascent soul stage, there was a record of him killing nascent soul stage cultivators 1,000 years ago. In fact, with his talent and strength, he could have cultivated the primordial spirit long ago. The reason why he had been suppressing his cultivation all this while was because he had not achieved a breakthrough yet. The reason was very simple. It was because he was cultivating a profound cultivation technique. If he could successfully cultivate this technique, he would have the combat power of a Tao integration stage cultivator when he attained the primordial spirit stage. However, having the combat power of a Dao integration stage cultivator and being a true Dao integration stage cultivator were two different things. Dao integration stage cultivators stood at the pinnacle of all cultivators and were powerful beings who could traverse the universe. Therefore, old ancestor Qin Xian's desire for Earth was extremely strong. This is the opportunity for the Qin Xian sect to soar. Qin Yi, the head of the Qin Xian sect, was also filled with ambition. It was different from old ancestor Qin Xian's goal of seeking to reach the peak. Qin Yi really wanted to bring the Qin Xian sect to the same height as the Tsunyan sect, to be able to rule over a star region. However, there was still a question in his heart. The patriarch had never entered the depths of the chaotic star belt, so how did he know about the situation there? After thinking for a while, he asked this question. Qin Yi's sudden question did not make old ancestor Qin Xian unhappy. This was because Qin Yi was the most promising descendant of old ancestor Qin Xian. Old ancestor Qin Xian smiled and said, I guessed. This answer was out of Qin Yi's expectations. Speaking of which, this matter is related to the Purple Heaven sect. Old ancestor Qin Xian continued to explain. The Violet Heaven sect of the Three Gates and Six Sects of the Dao Alliance. Even Qin Yi, who had lived for 1,000 years, exclaimed when he heard this. Each of the Dao Alliance's 9 stellar domains was governed by a supreme immortal Dao sect, the 3 schools and 6 sects. The Zixia region they were in now belonged to the Zixia sect. Old ancestor Qin Xian nodded with a smile. That's right. 10,000 years ago, Daoist Ge, the Dao integration expert of the Purple Heaven sect, and Yin Tianxing, the Dao integration expert of the Ghost Clan, fought fiercely in the Purple Heaven region, destroying countless planets. In the end, the two of them mysteriously disappeared. No one knows where they went. Dao integration stage. Qin Yi's face was filled with shock. That earth-shattering battle had happened too long ago. Even he, a late nascent soul stage cultivator who had lived for thousands of years, had only heard very little information about it. Old ancestor Qin Xian continued. I once heard that in order to find Daoist Ge, the Purple Heaven sect went to visit an almighty who was good at divination and deduction. They obtained a clue that Daoist Ge and Yin Tianxing would fall on a planet in the depths of the chaotic star belt. Then, the Purple Heaven sect sent out experts to search the entire chaotic star belt, but they found nothing. It wasn't until 6,000 years ago that the Purple Heaven sect announced that Daoist Ge's life tablet was broken that they stopped searching. This matter was also forgotten with the passage of time. Hearing this, Qin Yi asked, Then why can old ancestor be sure that the planet that Hu Yan and the others found is the one that the Purple Heaven sect is looking for? It's very simple. Regardless of whether the Purple Heaven sect found that planet or not, it's in the depths of the chaotic star belt. It was located in the depths of the chaotic star belt, and it hid so many secrets. These 2 points are enough to conclude that it's the place where Daoist Ge and Yin Tianxing died. Old ancestor Qin Xian's eyes were suffused with a bloody light. This kind of reasoning didn't need to be completely confirmed at all. It only needed a 50% or even 30% probability to give a definite answer. Moreover, even if the reasoning was wrong, the hidden value of that planet was immeasurable. Qin Yi let out a long breath. The shock in his heart couldn't be calmed down for a long time. If old ancestor Qin Xian didn't mention the secret, he wouldn't have known at all. Many things had been buried in the long river of time for tens of thousands of years. At this time, old ancestor Qin Xian smiled again and said, 2 hours have passed. With Hu Yan and the others' speed, the collection is almost finished. Contact them now. Qin Yi's eyes were filled with excitement as he used the communication bead to contact Hu Yan. No answer. He contacted again, but still no answer. Could it be that they were still collecting the original data of that planet? What's going on? Old ancestor Qin Xian frowned. No answer. Wait a little longer. After waiting for another hour, Qin Yi contacted again, but still no answer. 10 hours later, there was still no movement. Qin Yi's expression became more and more unsightly. Hu Yan had told him before that the highest combat power on that planet was only the late-stage gold core realm. With Hu Yan's mid-stage nascent soul realm combat power, it was enough to crush everything. It should have been settled long ago, right? Look at their life tablets. The bloody light in old ancestor Qin Xian's eyes pulsed faintly. Qin Yi nodded. That planet hid many secrets, and definitely had many dangers. Perhaps Hu Yan and the others had encountered some danger. His spiritual sense immediately spread out, and saw the life tablets of the 3 people at the place where the sect's life tablets were stored. They were intact. That meant that Hu Yan and the others' lives were not in danger. Then what had happened? Hu Yan has always been dissatisfied with me. Could it be that he changed his mind at the last minute and didn't want to hand over that planet to the sect? Qin Ye's face sank. Then, he shook his head and denied this inference. If Hu Yan wanted to change his mind, he wouldn't have told them the detailed process of passing through the chaotic star belt. Wait a little longer! Old ancestor Qin Xian was expressionless. No one knew what he was thinking. The 2 of them waited for another day, but they still couldn't get in touch. In such a situation, there was no need to guess. They knew that something must have happened. Maybe Hu Yan changed his mind at the last minute, or maybe Hu Yan was in danger. Set off now and enter the core area of the chaotic star belt according to Hu Yan's path. See if you can follow the place where he passed through and enter. Old ancestor Qin Xian's voice was low. There was a bloody light in his eyes and a murderous aura. No matter which possibility it was, he was determined to get that planet. Qin Yi nodded. After ending the communication with old ancestor Qin Xian, he immediately rushed to the interstellar teleportation array in the sect. He wanted to teleport to the blue planet first, then use the flying ship to go to the chaotic star belt. Blue planet was the closest to the chaotic star belt. At the same time, in the Zixio region, an uninhabited planet with a gravity that was 1,000 times stronger. Old ancestor Qin Xian, who lived in seclusion, had eyes that emitted a terrifying bloody light that shot straight into the sky. I must get such an opportunity. Unfortunately, the blood chi spirit fruit here is not ripe yet. I can't leave. Otherwise, I could personally go to the chaotic star belt. Chapter 248. The crisis of the interstellar hunters on Earth this time. It came abruptly and ended abruptly. From the beginning to the end of the crisis, it actually lasted less than 2 hours. Jiang Xi sent away those golden core cultivators and big demons, then took Hu Yan to Xiantian City. He saw the other 2 captured interstellar hunters, Chu Zhe and Xiu Hong. The 2 of them looked very miserable because they picked the wrong opponent to fight. Chu Zhe had just comprehended a Tao true meaning. But his opponent, Xiantian, had already comprehended a Tao true meaning a long time ago, and it was the top Tao true meaning. Therefore, he was directly beaten up by Xiantian and became a whetstone. Xiu Hong's experience was similar. A dignified late-stage golden core cultivator couldn't withstand Li Baibai's fast sword at all. Under Li Baibai's 8 elements swordsmanship, hundreds of bloody holes appeared on this interstellar hunter's body in an instant, and he was almost stabbed to death. Jiang Xi looked at the miserable state of the 2 and couldn't bear it, so he put the same spiritual sense restriction on them. So, there were 2 more people who called him Lord. Xiantian and Li Baibai were already used to Jiang Xi's occasional mysterious actions. They didn't ask much, because they knew that it was most likely from the Jade Lake secret realm again. However, they still had to be shocked. Jiang Xi, this kid, got 3 late-stage golden core subordinates without saying a word, which made them very envious. Then, Jiang Xi, Xiantian, and Li Baibai made some arrangements for the possible follow-up effects of the interstellar hunters' invasion. For example, Jiang Xi asked the 2 of them not to disclose the previous battle with the interstellar hunters. In this way, the captured golden core cultivators wouldn't be suspicious of the maneuver, so they could continue to maintain a sense of mystery. Before the 3 of them finished discussing, at this moment, Hu Yan's expression changed. He took out a communication bead, and the transmission mark on it was slightly glowing. Lord, a message from my sect! Don't answer it! Jiang Xi's expression became serious. Jiang Xi, what's going on? Xiantian and Li Baibai looked at Jiang Xi in confusion. I was just about to tell you about this. Jiang Xi's expression was solemn as he explained the reason. Hu Yan told his sect, Qin Xian sect, about the existence of Earth and how he came to Earth. Xian Tian and Li Baibai's expressions changed. They immediately realized the severity of the situation. They had already learned from Jiang Xi that Hu Yan had the battle prowess of a middle-stage nascent soul realm cultivator. Then how powerful was Hu Yan's sect? I'm very sorry. I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused everyone, Hu Yan said sincerely in stiff Great Xiao language. I can't blame you for this. After all, you were our enemy before. Jiang Xi shook his head. Then, Jiang Xi said to the Xian Tian duo, the Qin Xian sect is well aware of the value of Earth. After losing contact with Hu Yan, they will definitely send people to continue the search. Therefore, Earth's crisis is not over yet. Xian Tian frowned. How powerful is the Qin Xian sect? Very powerful. The founder of the Qin Xian sect, old ancestor Qin Xian, although his cultivation is only at the late-stage nascent soul realm, he has the record of killing nascent soul realm cultivators. The current sect leader is at the late-stage nascent soul realm. There is also a middle-stage nascent soul realm cultivator and 3 early-stage nascent soul realm cultivators. Jiang Xi smiled bitterly. Xian Tian and Li Baibai's breathing stagnated. Killing nascent soul realm cultivators. They could probably kill them with just a breath, right? Jiang Xi looked at the two and said, there are 2 pieces of good news. First, according to Hu Yan, old ancestor Qin Xian left the Qin Xian sect 1,000 years ago and his whereabouts are unknown. He didn't even appear when the Qin Xian sect was facing a crisis. Therefore, he probably won't come this time. The person who will come is most likely one or more of the nascent soul realm cultivators of the Qin Xian sect. Second, it will take about 3 years to get here from the galaxy where Hu Yan's sect is located. In other words, we still have a chance. Xian Tian and Li Baibai looked at each other. There was bitterness in their eyes. Nascent soul realm. The 2 of them took a deep breath. This was not good news. They didn't give up. Even if it was a 1 in a million chance, it was still a chance. In the end, it all came back to strength. As long as they were strong enough, even if the enemy came, there was no need to be afraid. Big brother, sister, bye-bye, I've thought about it. I'm going to leave Earth in a few days and go to the starry sky to improve. Do you want to come with me? Jiang Xi took a deep breath and told them his plan. Definitely. The current environment on Earth is very difficult for us to train. Only by going through stronger battles can we have a chance to improve quickly. Xian Tian agreed. Li Baibai also agreed. Walking on the edge of life and death and experiencing the horror of life and death, we have a chance to get stronger. All right, wait for my notice, Jiang Xi said finally. Next, the 3 of them discussed some other arrangements. After confirming that there was no problem for the time being, Jiang Xi left with Hu Yan, Chu Zhe, and Qiu Hong. Pak Sun Province, Tongtian District. At this time, the entire district was still in the cold winter season. Snowflakes floated in the sky and frost covered the ground. Outside Tongtian District, everything was normal. The autumn air was refreshing and the weather was pleasant. Such a spectacle attracted the attention of many people. At the same time, the higher-ups were still worried about Jiang Xi's situation. They were afraid that Jiang Xi would encounter an accident. The person who could create such a strange phenomenon must be very powerful. After a while, everyone was surprised to find that the strange phenomenon suddenly disappeared. The frost on the ground and the snowflakes in the sky disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. This is a drill. Everyone, disperse! Jiang Xi's voice echoed in the Genten Budokan district of Pak Sun Province. Drill? Everyone was stunned. Those who were worried about Jiang Xi felt relieved. Villa 92. Jiang Dudu stood on the balcony and looked at the sky. Although Jiang Xi had already contacted her and confirmed his safety, she could not be at ease without seeing Jiang Xi with her own eyes. After hearing Jiang Xi's voice, a smile finally appeared on her face. The next moment, Jiang Xi's figure appeared in front of her, and at the same time, there were 3 other strange people wearing spiritual battle suits. "Brother, are these the 3 pets you were talking about?" Jiang Dudu's eyes sparkled. Seeing Hu Yan and the others, she remembered her dream of catching ghosts as pets, which had yet to be realized. Hu Yan, Chu Zhe, Qiu Hong. The existence of the spiritual sense restriction made them acknowledge Jiang Xi from the bottom of their hearts. Naturally, they also had a good impression of Jiang Dudu. However, Jiang Dudu's first sentence made them suffer 10,000 points of damage. "Cough! What nonsense are you talking about? In the future they will be our family's guards and nannies." Jiang Xi scratched the little girl's nose. Although the little girl was not young anymore, she would be an adult in 2 months. However, the 2 of them did not feel uncomfortable with this kind of intimate action. They felt that it was normal. Nothing needed to be said. It was fine as long as they accompanied each other. Chapter 249. "The 3 of you will stay in the villa next door. If there's anything, I'll inform you," Jiang Xi said to Hu Yan. "Thank you, sir." Hu Yan, Chu Zhe, and Qiu Hong respectfully bowed and left. They were very grateful to Jiang Xi for his actions and arrangements. Although Jiang Xi had placed a spiritual consciousness restriction on them, he did not treat them as slaves. Jiang Xi smiled. He had sent a message to Lu Shan to vacate the villa next door when he was on his way back. Villa 92 was his and Jiang Dudu's home. If Hu Yan and the rest were to move in, Jiang Dudu would definitely not agree to it, let alone him. "Brother, is there anything else you're worried about?" Jiang Dudu asked. She and Jiang Xi depended on each other for survival. She was very familiar with Jiang Xi's little movements and micro-expressions. She found that although Jiang Xi was smiling, there was a hidden worry in the depths of his expression. Jiang Xi smiled helplessly. He did not hide anything and told Jiang Dudu about the Qing Xian sect. Finally, he said, "If the Qing Xian sect really wants to come, then we only have 3 years, so I understand. Big bro, don't worry and go ahead. Don't worry about me." Jiang Dudu laughed. The 2 of them had a tacit understanding. Before Jiang Xi could finish his words, she already knew what Jiang Xi was planning to do. As she grew up, her initial willfulness had long disappeared. She had become a considerate little girl. In the face of such a crisis, of course, she would not pester Jiang Xi and ask Jiang Xi to take her on a trip to the starry sky. Jiang Dudu's growth and understanding made Jiang Xi happy. In the next few days, he sent Hu Yan and Chu Zhe out to collect the original data of the Earth with the astrolabe. The purpose of this was very simple. He wanted to apply to become the Lord of the Earth. Regardless of the crisis brought by the Qing Xian sect, he had to apply. This was because the Tao Alliance had a rule: private territory was sacred and inviolable. Once his application was successful, the Tao Alliance's heaven span would leave a mark on Earth and the star system it was located in. If someone trespassed on Earth without the permission of the Lord of the planet, he would be punished. He could then report this matter to the Alliance at that time. The enforcers of the Tao Alliance would hunt down and punish the trespassers according to the rules. Of course, Jiang Xi knew very well that this was just a means of deterrence. Those who had the guts to barge in would still make a move. Lawbreakers who took risks for their own benefits would never disappear in any era or place. As for whether or not Earth's existence would be exposed to the Tao Alliance, Jiang Xi had already made ample preparations. He would not record the secret data about the recovery of spiritual energy and the Grotto Heaven's secret realms in the astrolabe. The raw data of a planet included the situation of its galaxy, the planet's society, civilization, geography, and other data. The other secrets weren't the focus of the Tao Alliance's investigation. He had already learned from Hu Yan that the Tao Alliance wouldn't send anyone to verify his application to become the ruler of a wild planet. This was because the Tao Alliance's Eye of Heavens covered the entire universe. The Eye of Heavens would be able to determine the location of the planet and imprint it. Jiang Xi expressed his understanding of this point. The Tao Alliance's approach was to encourage exploration. It was somewhat similar to the old era of the Western Great Voyages. The countries of the Western world encouraged navigators to explore new lands. As long as they admitted that this thing was under the jurisdiction of the Tao Alliance, they could do whatever they wanted. While Hu Yan and Chu Zhe were collecting data, Jiang Xi wasn't idle either. He used all his energy to obtain experience points. This was because there wouldn't be such a good opportunity to obtain experience points once they reached the starry sky. It was better to prepare more experience points first. Thus, the monsters suffered. Jiang Xi killed all the monsters in the wilderness around the 7 prefectures of the Great Xia Empire. Although his hunting efficiency wasn't as high as during the Beast Tide, he was now stronger. With the Gale Domain, his hunting speed was quite impressive. For a time, the beasts were terrified. However, Jiang Xi didn't do such a thing. His hunting only reduced the density of monsters in the wilderness. There were still a lot of monsters. The warriors of the Great Xia Empire's martial arts world still had the opportunity to train in the wilderness. After hunting for 10 whole days, the experience points on the interface finally reached a new high. Experience points, 100. 22 million, over 100 million. 100 million experience points should be enough for me to go all out, right? With this thought in mind, Riverward ended the hunt. The terrified monsters finally got rid of the fear of dying at any time. New Moon Year 96, September 27th. Xian Tian and Li Baibai announced to the public that they were going to cultivate in seclusion. In reality, they arrived at Jiang Xi's house without alerting anyone. Tongtian District, Villa 92, Underground Training Room. Xian Tian and Li Baibai stood around the teleportation array and observed it for a long time. This is the teleportation array? It looks so exquisite, Xian Tian praised. Big brother, if you want to learn, I can compile a summary for you, Jiang Xi said with a smile. Forget it. It's more comfortable to fight and kill. This kind of research is not suitable for me, Xian Tian rejected decisively. Biting off more than he could chew was bad. He was very clear about what he needed. Hu Yan and the other two by the side had faces full of envy. The Tao of Formations was a rare inheritance even in the Tao Alliance's 9 major galaxies. After a while, it was time to set off. This time, apart from Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, Li Baibai, and Hu Yan were leaving Earth for the starry sky. As for Chu Zhe and Qiu Hong, Jiang Xi had other arrangements. He sternly reminded the two of them. Chu Zhe, Qiu Hong, don't make any mistakes in the mission I gave you. Yes, sir, the two of them answered solemnly. Chu Zhe's mission was to guard Xian Tian City for Xian Tian, while Qiu Hong's mission was to protect Jiangdudu and Pak Sun Province at the same time. Of course, if the Xia Kingdom encountered any danger during this period, the two of them would also have to help. Generally speaking, after Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai left, Chu Zhe and Qiu Hong would take over Jiang Xi's original responsibilities. Although no one on Earth had the guts to offend the three of them, it was always better to be safe than sorry. However, it was better to be safe than sorry. The necessary precautions still had to be taken. Jiang Xi did not trust those people from the hidden families. They could only leave with peace of mind after making these arrangements. Big brother, be good and come back alive! Jiangdudu's gaze was fixed on Jiang Xi, firm and affectionate. This was because Jiang Xi's purpose in entering the starry sky was different from the last time. Last time, he was only there to explore and check out the situation. He would not encounter any danger. But this time, Jiang Xi was going to train and would definitely fight with people. Don't worry, I promise to come back in one piece. Jiang Xi rubbed the little girl's head, then smiled and said, You also cultivate well. Don't wait for me to come back and find that your cultivation hasn't changed. Okay. Jiangdudu nodded vigorously. Then, Jiang Xi teleported Xian Tian, Li Baibai, and Hu Yan to the Guanghan Palace on the first moon. As for himself, he disappeared in the light of the teleportation array under Jiangdudu's gaze. Chapter 250. On the first moon, in the dilapidated Guanghan Palace. Other than Jiang Xi, who was calm, Xian Tian, Li Baibai, and Hu Yan were all shocked. Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai were shocked that the projection of the Moon Palace during the third and fourth spiritual qi revival was real. Jiang Xi did not reveal this to them in advance. Hu Yan was shocked that he had just found out that there was an interstellar teleportation array on this moon. He thought that Jiang Xi had brought him into the galaxy so that he could pilot the flying ship and travel through the galaxy. Jiang Xi, do you have a way to get to the second moon? Xian Tian looked at the second moon. Unfortunately, he could not see the brand new Guanghan Palace. The second moon can be seen but not touched. How can I do that? Jiang Xi shook his head and smiled. Xian Tian sighed. 100 years ago, when the second moon appeared in outer space, the spiritual qi revival began. Since then, people were more curious about the second moon than the first moon. The second moon seems to be in another time and space. The Xia kingdom tried to use a spacecraft, but it went straight through the galaxy. Li Bai Bai sighed. With our current strength, we can't explore this secret. Maybe when our cultivation is higher in the future, we will know the answer. Jiang Xi chuckled. So what are we waiting for? Let's go! Xian Tian urged. He could not wait to go to the galaxy and see the scenery of other planets. On the distant planet Xinglan, in the Linhai City Teleportation Hall, the captain of the guards, Gongshi, had just entered a state of cultivation for 2 months when he was woken up by his subordinates. After learning the reason, the anger in his heart instantly dissipated. The interstellar teleportation array lit up again, and it was an interstellar teleportation with unknown coordinates. Gongshi did not dare to be negligent. He could not afford to offend anyone who could perform such an interstellar teleportation. When the interstellar teleportation array's light disappeared, 4 figures appeared. Gongshi, together with all the guards, hurriedly bowed respectfully. Third Guard Captain Gongshi of the Linhai City Teleportation Hall on planet Xinglan welcomes. Eh? Sir Jiang Xi. Gongshi was stunned for a moment. He saw Jiang Xi among the 4 people. Just like last time, make a new identity jade tablet for the 2 of them. Jiang Xi didn't stand on ceremony. He maintained his cold attitude from last time and asked Gongshi to register Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai. As for Hu Yan, after being a starry sky wanderer for so long, he naturally had many identities. There was no need for him to get a new one. After a short moment, Jiang Xi's group of 4 left the teleportation hall under Gongshi's respectful escort. Looking at their backs, Gongshi shook his head and sighed. A good family background was better than anything else. The interstellar teleportation of 4 people would cost 40,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. He had to work hard to guard the teleportation hall for 40 years to earn that much. It really couldn't be compared. After leaving the teleportation hall, Jiang Xi first brought Xian Tian and the others to the Grey Cloud Star Trade Center to find Steward Zhua to sell some wonderstones. Because they needed money to do things. Then, it was Hu Yan's turn to lead the way to the Tao Alliance building on the Blue Planet. Hu Yan was very familiar with the situation on the Blue Planet. After all, the Qin Xian sect was one of the top 10 sects in the Blue Planet. He had been here many times. Along the way, Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai looked at the scenery on the Blue Planet in amazement. It was indeed very different from Earth. On the other hand, Jiang Xi was thinking about what to do next, which was to apply to become the Lord of Earth. When the application is successful, it doesn't matter if the people from the Qin Xian sect come or not. When Earth and the solar system have the mark of the Tao Alliance's Eye of Heaven, it will serve as a deterrent if any starry sky wanderers accidentally enter. As there was a no-fly law in the cities on the Blue Planet, the 4 of them still took a long time to arrive at the Tao Alliance building. From afar, they saw a majestic classical building that seemed to reach the clouds. When they got closer, they could feel a faint pressure that made them feel awe. It was also Jiang Xi's first time here. When he saw this majestic building, he immediately thought of the Tongtian Mountain, the Tongtian Tower, and the Fengdu Mountain. The pressure from the Tao Alliance building was very similar to these 3, but it was much smaller. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Bai Bai looked at each other. There was shock in their eyes as they thought of the same thing. What was the connection between the Tao Alliance building, the Tongtian Mountain, the Tongtian Tower, and the Fingdu Mountain? At this moment, there were many cultivators coming and going in front of the building. However, the shock of the three did not arouse any suspicion. This was because everyone's reaction when they saw the Tao Alliance building for the first time was similar to theirs. Jiang Xi recalled the information about the Tao Alliance and the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court in Taoist Ji's inherited memories. By analogy, the Tao Alliance occupied 9 major galaxies in the universe. It was equivalent to a national organization. The Heavenly Court of the Tao Alliance was formed with the 3 sects and 6 sects, each of which controlled a planetary region as its core, and many other inferior immortal Tao sects as its support. It was the highest authority of the Tao Alliance that controlled the 9 major planetary regions of the human race. The Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's influence spread throughout all of the planets that were rank 3 and above. All of the planets that were rank 3 and above that were not privately owned would have a Tao Alliance building. It would serve as the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's headquarters. This was somewhat similar to the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court's office. Many matters related to cultivators had to be handled here. For example, the establishment and cancellation of immortal Tao sects, the application for or transfer of a planet's overlord status, the training and advancement of starry sky hunters, and many other matters. At this moment, many cultivators were entering and exiting the building. They were all here for business. Jiang Xi suppressed the shock in his heart. He calmed himself down, then walked into the Tao Alliance building with Xian Tian and the other 2. After entering, they went straight to the place where the application for or transfer of a planet's overlord status was handled. This place was rather quiet. Or rather, there was no one there at all. Not only was it quiet, but the staff member of the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court was also a very ordinary-looking middle-aged Taoist. However, his cultivation was not ordinary at all. Jiang Xi couldn't help but sigh at how powerful the Tao Alliance Heavenly Court was. Just a staff member of this office was at the early nascent soul stage. The middle-aged Taoist didn't underestimate Jiang Xi just because he was at the late Jinan stage. This was because the business he was in charge of was related to the development and transfer of life planets. Generally, it would involve a large sum of money. There was a fee for this kind of business. The greater the sum of money, the greater the fee. Even in the universe, the rich were the lords of the universe. For example, a rank 1 planet was worth at least 1 million low-grade spirit crystals. If a cultivator wanted to apply to become the overlord of a rank 1 planet, they would first have to pay 10,000 low-grade spirit crystals as a processing fee. A processing fee of 1%. Jiang Xi was naturally aware of this, and he had mentally prepared himself for this long ago. According to the data he had gathered on Earth, Earth was a rank 3 planet. Its value started from 100 million low-grade spirit crystals. A processing fee of 1% was 1 million. Chapter 251. A 1 million processing fee. Therefore, when Jiang Xi left the teleportation hall, he immediately went to the Green Cloud Star Market and exchanged 1 million spiritual crystals with the magical stones. In addition, he still had 400,000 spiritual crystals in the Taoist Alliance's crystal bank. 1,400,000 low-grade spiritual crystals should be enough even if there was an accident. If there was no other way, he could go back and exchange for more. After all, he, Xian Tian, and Li Bai all had a lot of magical stones in their storage rings. Senior, I want to apply to become the lord of this planet. This is the original data. Jiang Xi handed the astrolabe to the middle-aged Taoist. When he spoke, he used the most authentic common language of the Taoist Alliance. The smile on the middle-aged Taoist's face widened. He judged that Jiang Xi must be from an extraordinary family. He took the astrolabe with a smile and said, "Please wait for a moment." Then, he placed the astrolabe on a stone pillar carved with runes. At the top of the stone pillar, there was a closed eye. The eye suddenly opened, as if it could see through everything. It shot out a ray of light and covered the astrolabe. The Eye of Heaven? Jiang Xi was shocked. Then, he realized that this was the clone of the Eye of Heaven. After a while, The middle-aged Taoist took the astrolabe. He looked confused and surprised. He asked hesitantly, "Are you sure you want to become the lord of this planet?" "Yes, is there a problem?" Jiang Xi nodded. "No, the Eye of Heaven has judged that this planet is indeed an uninhabited planet. However, if you want to apply to become the lord of this planet, you need to pay a fee of 100 million low-grade spiritual crystals first. Then, your cultivation must be at least in the nascent soul stage." The middle-aged Taoist's words were shocking. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, Li Bai, and Hu Yan were all stunned. 100 million low-grade spiritual crystals. And his cultivation must be at least in the nascent soul stage. Wasn't this the standard for a level 5 uninhabited planet? For a level 3 uninhabited planet like Earth, if one wanted to apply to become the lord of this planet, one's cultivation must be at least in the golden core stage. "Senior, is there a mistake?" Jiang Xi quickly asked. "Under the inspection of the Eye of Heaven, there is no way it could be wrong," the middle-aged Taoist said with a resolute expression, giving a definite answer. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Bai looked at each other. Could it be that the Heavenly Eye had discovered something? Did he know the difference between Earth and Earth? Didn't they say that the Alliance didn't care about these things? At this moment, the middle-aged Taoist's expression changed slightly. A trace of shock flashed in his eyes before he regained his composure. No one noticed his unusual behavior. He said to Jiang Xi, "You have two choices now. You can apply for it when your cultivation level is high enough. Or you can give up on becoming the overlord of this planet and hand it over to the Tao Alliance. That way, you will receive 100 million low-grade spiritual crystals and a top-notch cultivation technique from the Tao Alliance." Jiang Xi's breathing stagnated. He had a bad feeling. Was he being targeted? "Senior, what is the meaning of this?" He maintained his calm and asked in a low voice. The middle-aged Taoist laughed. "Don't worry. I'm strictly adhering to the rules of the Tao Alliance and giving you the choice. According to the rules of the Tao Alliance, if a cultivator discovers a new planet with life, he or she can choose to pay a price. You can choose to pay a certain price and apply to become the ruler of a planet, or you can choose to submit it to the Tao Alliance and receive a certain reward." Jiang Xi's expression was calm. He shook his head. "Thank you, Senior. I'll come again next time." What the middle-aged Taoist said was true. He must have been overthinking things just now. The Tao Alliance occupied 9 major star zones. There was no need for them to set their eyes on a small planet like Earth. Jiang Xi didn't stay any longer. He left the Tao Alliance building with the equally shocked Xian Tian, Li Bai, and Hu Yan. The 4 of them found a secluded place to rest in Waterfront City. "Jiang Xi, did they discover something?" Xian Tian and Li Bai asked the same question. They were also worried. If Earth was targeted by a colossus like the Tao Alliance, it wouldn't be able to resist at all. "The omniscient Eye must have discovered something, but it's not that serious. Otherwise, they wouldn't have given me 2 choices." Jiang Xi nodded with a smile. He then explained the comparison between the Tao Alliance and Earth's. Xian Tian and Li Bai were both intelligent people. They also understood. Yes, the Tao Alliance was extremely powerful. How big was Earth? It was like the richest man on Earth. Would he be greedy for a small village in a remote area? "So don't worry. I'll apply again when I reach the nascent soul stage," Jiang Xi said with a smile. "Hey, don't be so confident. Maybe I'll reach the nascent soul stage first," Xian Tian joked. "Are you two looking down on me?" Li Bai also said. "Haha." The 3 of them felt relieved. Although there were some problems with the application to become the Earth's Lord, it was still acceptable. 100 million low-grade spirit crystals and nascent soul cultivation. Money was easy to solve. When they left Earth, they brought more than half of the wondrous stones with them. It wouldn't be a problem to gather 100 million low-grade spirit crystals. The main problem was cultivation. It wasn't easy to reach the nascent soul stage. Especially Xian Tian and Li Bai. They had reached the golden core stage less than a year ago. They wouldn't be able to reach the nascent soul stage in the near future. Only Jiang Xi was the most confident. His golden core would only need 10 years to reach the nascent soul stage under the nourishment of yin and yang. However, in Jiang Xi's opinion, 10 years was still too slow. He looked at the experience panel: cultivation, golden core, late stage 39750039750, Dao technique, Gale domain, 700, 000/5, 000, sword intent, 1, 000/1, 000, amplitude, 22. 6 deduction, 10,000 experience points once martial arts, purple cloud sword manual, peacock visualization experience points, 10,000, 000/22, 000. In terms of cultivation, although he was only at the late stage of the golden core stage, the newly comprehended Gale domain and the perfected sword intent gave him a spiritual power amplitude of 22. 6 times. In other words, in terms of spiritual power, the power of his attack would exceed the full power attack of 22 cultivators at the late stage of the golden core stage if he added the Gale domain and the sword intent to his strength. His actual combat power would exceed the late stage of the nascent soul stage. Of course, if he encountered a real late stage of the nascent soul stage, he might have to think twice. Compared to the sect leader of the Qin Xian sect, who was invincible in the nascent soul stage, they were on 2 different levels. Invincible in the nascent soul stage meant that the nascent soul cultivation was perfected, and he had at least comprehended a complete Dao domain. Jiang Xi knew very well that he was still far from it. If the sect leader of the Qin Xian sect had already set off, he would only need 3 years to reach Earth. I have to complete the golden core stage and become a nascent soul cultivator within 3 years. By then, my Gale domain will definitely be perfected. With the sword intent, I will have a chance to compete with him. If I am lucky, I can deduce the sword domain within 3 years. Then, I will have a greater chance. But the prerequisite for all of this is to reach the nascent soul stage. Cultivation was the foundation of strength. No matter how high the spiritual power amplitude brought by the Dao technique was, if the foundation was not good, then the final combat power would not be very high. The spiritual power of a late stage of the golden core stage and a late stage of the nascent soul stage could not be compared at all. Moreover, why couldn't a late stage of the nascent soul stage comprehend the Dao technique? Chapter 252. Nascent soul stage. It seems that I can only look for Yang Qi. Well, I can also fulfill one of Master's requests. Jiang Xi decided on a new plan. When he was forming his gold core, he used Yang Qi to speed up the 100 refinement method. If he had Yang Qi to assist the yin and yang cultivation method, it would coincide with yin and yang, and the completion of the cultivation could be accelerated. Master left me 2 requests. One of them is to visit the descendants of his friend after I step into the starry sky. In Jiang Xi's mind, this was something he had to do, not only because he had made a Dao oath. More importantly, Taoist Ji's friend had saved Taoist Ji's life with his own. And as Taoist Ji's only disciple, he had the responsibility and obligation to visit the descendants of his master's friend. This time, when he left Earth, Jiang Xi had this plan. He didn't want his master to die in peace. 10,000 years have passed. I don't know if the bloodline of master's friend has been passed down, but no matter what, I have to go. Murong Planet. Jiang Xi let out a long breath. He was going to Murong Planet, which was registered in his identity information. Because the bloodline of his master's friend was on that planet, and it happened to have the Yang Qi he needed at the moment. After sorting out the next step of the plan, Jiang Xi said, Big brother, sister, bye-bye, I'm going to another planet to do something. It may take some time. Are you waiting for me on Blue Planet, or do you have other plans? Because he wasn't sure if he could find the descendants of his master's friend, it would definitely take some time. Will there be a fight? Xian Tian was concerned about this. I'm going to look for someone, a peaceful journey. Jiang Xi smiled. Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai looked at each other, and then Xian Tian smiled and said, "Then we won't go together. Bai Bai and I plan to apply to become starry sky hunters. We will explore the blue planet and improve our strength through combat experience. Okay, I'll let Hu Yan go with you. We can take care of each other." Jiang Xi nodded. Although Hu Yan was at the late stage Aurus core stage, relying on the 40% comprehension of the Frost domain, his actual combat strength had reached the middle stage nascent soul stage. With Hu Yan following Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai, Jiang Xi felt a lot more at ease. Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai were also aware of this, so they didn't refuse. They knew of Jiang Xi's strength. Whether or not Hu Yan was there, it did not matter to Jiang Xi. Everyone went their separate ways. Jiang Xi went to Murong Planet alone. The other three returned to the Dao Alliance building and applied to become Starry Sky Hunters. Of course, it didn't mean that one would definitely become a Starry Sky Hunter after applying. One still had to go through the assessment and experience. The trial would be accompanied by battles and killings. It was very dangerous. This was another reason why Jiang Xi left Hu Yan behind. Earth, Desya Kingdom, Pak Sun Province, Tongtian District, Villa number 92. Jiang Xi had been gone for half a month. Ever since Jiang Xi was trapped in the Jade Lake Mystic Realm for a year and came back, he hadn't left home for more than a day. This time, Jiang Xi had left home, and no one knew when he would be back. Therefore, Jiang Daoda was also trying her best to adapt to the days when Jiang Xi wasn't around. She allowed herself to devote all her attention to cultivation. Seeing that Jiang Xi's cultivation was getting stronger and stronger, she didn't want to be left behind too much. She also didn't want to follow Jiang Xi forever. She wanted to walk side by side with Jiang Xi. Just like this time, if she also had the cultivation of the Golden Core stage, she could go to the Starry Sky with Jiang Xi to train. She wouldn't be like now, alone in an empty house. After Jiang Xi left, Jiang Daoda moved her cultivation location from the villa's balcony to the underground cultivation room. Late at night, the two moons hung in the sky. Jiang Daoda sat cross-legged at the place where Jiang Xi usually sat. She gradually entered a state of emptiness, and entered a state of cultivation. After an unknown amount of time, it seemed to be midnight. An extremely faint light lit up between her eyebrows. It was almost imperceptible. This light flickered and completely drilled into her mind. Hee hee hee! There seemed to be a sinister laughter echoing in the underground cultivation room. At the same time, there was a ghastly and dense pure ghost aura that completely covered Jiang Daoda. Jiang Daoda didn't react to all of this, as if she had been cast a spell. That old guy's successor hasn't returned for half a month. Finally, I can use the method of possession. This little girl is born with an extremely Yin body. It's the perfect body that I, Yin, was born with. Yin's natural remnant spirit was preparing to use the method of possession in Jiang Daoda's mind. She followed Jiang Xi out of the first moon and possessed Jiang Daoda's body. Other than absorbing some of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth during the fourth recovery of spiritual energy, she didn't do anything else. Although Jiang Daoda's physique was an extremely rare and powerful physique even in the Ghost Clan's galaxy, she still resisted the urge to possess her. Because Jiang Xi had obtained Taoist Ji's inheritance, she was worried that Jiang Xi would have a backup plan left behind by Taoist Ge. And Jiang Xi never left Jiang Daoda for more than a day, so she hadn't found a suitable opportunity. This time, it was finally time. Jiang Xi had been away for half a month, and she was sure that he wouldn't be back any time soon. Possession! Yin Tianxing's remnant spirit roared excitedly. The ghastly ghost aura that covered Jiang Daoda's body shook and began to seep into Jiang Daoda's body. Suddenly, the ghastly ghost aura calmed down and then trembled violently as if it had been frightened. Ah! What is this? Great horror! There's great horror in her body! Spare me! Spare my life! Spare! Yin Tianxing desperately begged for mercy. The ghastly ghost aura was completely devoured by Jiang Daoda's body in an instant. Finally, everything calmed down. In the underground practice room, nothing seemed to have happened. The next morning, Jiang Daodu yawned and stretched, then her movements froze. Oh, I actually fell asleep. It's over, I wasted a night. Eh? Golden core! The situation in her dantian made Jiang Daodu completely stunned. Overnight, she went from the early stage of spirit vessel to the early stage of golden core. What happened? Could it be that the spirit aura had recovered again? She hurriedly opened the computer network in the practice room and searched, but didn't find any real-time news about the recovery of spirit aura. What the hell? Jiang Daodu muttered. Sigh. At this time, a hoarse voice sounded with helplessness. She thought she had been discovered. Who is it? Come out. Jiang Daodu's gaze focused and she shouted coldly. Whoosh! At the same time, a dark blue dagger with a cold light appeared in her hand. She was ready to attack at any time. The next moment, a gray figure flew out from Jiang Daodu's body. Yin Tianxing greets master. It was a skinny old woman with sparse hair, and her figure was only the size of a thumb. Who are you? Don't try to get close to me. Jiang Daodu's face was taut as she maintained her vigilance. Chapter 253. Yin Tianxing was a path integration stage expert of the Ghost Clan when I was alive. Because I failed to possess Master, my remnant spirit was restrained by Master. If Master doesn't believe me, you can feel it with your mind and you will know. Yin Tianxing, who looked like an old woman, respectfully explained the reason. Her words were half true and half false. Because she had been warned by that great terror, she did not dare to reveal the truth to Jiang Daodu. Jiang Daodu's expression changed. She had learned a lot of cultivation knowledge from Jiang Xi, so she naturally knew what the path integration stage was and what possession was. With a thought, she immediately felt that she could control the life and death of this old woman. Thus, Jiang Daodu slightly relaxed her 100% vigilance by a bit. So, you are a ghost? I am a remnant spirit of the Ghost Clan, so I can be counted as a ghost. So you are my pet now? Master, you can think of it that way. Yin Tianxing did not reject the word pet because Jiang Daodu was a great terror. Even if she was treated as a pet, she could only accept it. Ha ha! I, Jiang Daodu, finally have a ghost pet! With her wish fulfilled, Jiang Daodu was as happy as a 3-year-old child and cheered for a while. However, the cold dagger in her hand was still pointed at Yin Tianxing. Yin Tianxing. Well, one is not enough. My brother has 3 human pets. No matter what, I have to get 3 ghost pets. Jiang Daodu said to herself again. Yin Tianxing. By the way, don't call me master. It is too unpleasant. Call me Sister Daodu in the future. Jiang Daodu looked at Yin Tianxing, who was the size of a thumb. Okay, Sister Daodu. Yin Tianxing's tone was full of helplessness. What kind of sin did she commit? Of course, Jiang Xi did not know what had happened on Earth. He had already arrived at Murong Planet in the Minglan star region through the interstellar teleportation array. The Zhixiao domain was extremely vast and had many star regions, countless galaxies, and countless planets with life. The Minglan star region was located at the edge of the Zhixiao domain and was a relatively remote star region. The prosperity of the planets here naturally could not be compared with that of the blue star region as for Murong Planet. Only after arriving here did Jiang Xi realize what a remote place was. In other words, it couldn't be called remote, but closed off. It actually feels like I have traveled to the ancient times of the great Xia kingdom. Jiang Xi was wearing an ancient costume as he sat in an ancient restaurant, drinking strong liquor with a unique flavor. He was currently in Xianyang City, the capital of Murong Planet. On the other hand, China was a secular country. The society, folklore, and architecture here were very similar to the pre-Qin era of the Xia kingdom on Earth. It was hard to imagine that this was a 4th-grade planet under the control of the Tao Alliance. In addition, the exchange of information here was extremely underdeveloped. Ordinary people did not know about the existence of cultivators at all. At most, they only knew about some myths and legends. From this, it could be seen that the ruler of Murong Planet had done a very good job in controlling the public opinion of the cultivation world. Furthermore, the control over foreign cultivators was also very strict. If one was not a native cultivator of Murong Planet, it would be very difficult to enter this planet. One would need to go through a lot of checks. Luckily, I registered my identity as coming from Murong Planet in the Minglan Star region when I was on planet Kanglan previously. It just so happens that it came in handy this time. Jiang Xi shook his head. He raised the wine jar and drank half of it. This wine had no effect on him at all. Even if he drank a ton, he would not get drunk. He recalled the scene when he had just teleported here half a month ago. Good heavens, as soon as his figure appeared in the interstellar teleportation array, more than 10 golden core stage cultivators surrounded him. If it weren't for the fact that those people were wearing the same spirit artifact battle suits, Jiang Xi would have thought that he was being robbed. After some communication, he found out that it was an identity check. At that time, he adhered to his habit of remaining calm and did not let anyone notice anything unusual. He directly took out his identity jade token. He also casually threw more than 20,000 inferior-grade spirit crystals to those people as a reward. Only then did he avoid the most severe identity check. 10,000 years have passed. Things have indeed changed, and the world has changed. According to Master's inherited memory, when the Wen clan's ancestor, Wen Yen, built the Wen clan's ancestral land, Qianyang Cave, he had invited Master to help set up the seal array. The Wen clan's ancestral land is in Qianyang City, the capital of China. However, 10,000 years have passed, and the name of Qianyang City has not changed, but the Wen clan has disappeared without a trace. The Wen clan's ancestor, Wen Yen, was Taoist Ji's friend. For half a month, he had been secretly looking for traces of the Wen clan, but to no avail. Now, let's focus on Qianyang Cave. The reason why Jiang Xi knew that Murong Planet had yang dark energy was very simple. It was because when Taoist Ge set up the seal array for Qianyang Cave, he had sealed a lot of yang dark energy inside. As long as he could enter Qianyang Cave, he would have a chance to obtain the yang dark energy. In fact, when Jiang Xi first arrived at Qianyang City, he had already discovered the location of Qianyang Cave. The entrance to Qianyang Cave was outside Qianyang City, in a lake called Blue Smoke Lake. There was no way not to discover it because another unexpected situation had occurred. The external seal array that Taoist Ge set up for Qianyang Cave had loosened last year. Those phenomena and the powerful spiritual aura emitted had caused a huge commotion and had long been noticed by Murong Planet's cultivation world. Last year, it was when Master's remnant spirit completely dissipated. Jiang Xi sighed softly in his heart. The dissipation of the remnant spirit caused the array that Taoist Ge set up back then to start unsealing. Just like the heaven and earth spirit lock array on the first moon, it was also unsealed because of this. It's impossible to enter the Qianyang Cave quietly. Jiang Xi drank half a jar of strong wine again and was worried. His original plan was to directly use Taoist Ji's unsealing mark after arriving at Murong Planet. Enter Qianyang Cave and refine the yang dark energy. Then, look for the descendants of the Wen clan. It was simple and effortless. But he didn't expect this accident to happen. After the seal loosened, the lake called Blue Smoke Lake was already firmly controlled by the current ruler of Murong Planet. No one was allowed to go near it. The Qiao clan again. Do I have a fucking feud with the Qiao clan? Jiang Xi recalled that when he had just stepped onto the path of martial arts on Earth, the first enemy he had encountered was the Qiao clan. And now, the one who actually controlled Murong Planet was also a cultivator family with the Qiao clan. Murong Planet wasn't a private territory. It was a planet that belonged to the Tao Alliance, and also had an office set up by the Tao Alliance Heavenly Courts. However, the Tao Alliance usually wouldn't interfere with the actual operation of a planet with life. Therefore, Murong Planet was already more or less a private territory under the Qiao clan's control. According to the information that Master gave me, Murong Planet was originally ruled by the Wen clan. But now, the Wen clan has disappeared without a trace. In the whole of China and even the surrounding secular countries, There isn't even a single one. Chapter 254. Through this half a month of investigation, Jiang Xi's keen intuition told him that the disappearance of the Wen family was not that simple. This was also the reason why he chose to secretly investigate. He was worried that there was danger behind it. The Wen family was originally the ruler of Murong Planet, a level 4 life planet. Although the Wen family's ancestor had died, they still had the ancestral land. Even if they lost the position of ruler, they wouldn't disappear, right? There was another possibility that the Wen family had moved out of Murong Planet. However, this possibility was very small, because no one would be willing to give up the ancestral land, which was the foundation of a cultivator family's strength. No matter what the possibility was, Jiang Xi knew that he had to stop investigating the Wen family's whereabouts for now. According to the loosening of the outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, the seal formation will be completely unsealed in a month at most. At that time, there is no need for Master's seal, anyone can enter. I have to think of a way. Jiang Xi had considered this for a long time, but he hadn't made a decision. At present, there were only two ways. One was to enter by force, and the other was to enter by taking advantage of the chaos. The danger of forcibly entering was very high. The Qiao family could rule and control a level 4 life planet. Their overall strength was definitely not weak, and there might be some old guys hiding. In comparison, taking advantage of the chaos was the most feasible way. Because of the loosening of the outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, it emitted a vision and a powerful aura, attracting the attention of many cultivators. Just in this Qianyang city, Jiang Xi found a lot of cultivators. He even saw a cultivator in the early nascent soul stage. Although Murong Planet was controlled by the cultivator family Qiao family, there were other powerhouses in the cultivation world. When the seal was completely unsealed, someone would definitely take advantage of the chaos to break in, and that would be the opportunity. No matter what method it is, I have to be fully prepared. With his strength that barely reached the late nascent soul stage, there were not many people in Murong Planet who could surpass him. However, he could not let down his caution and stability at any time. This was the lesson he had learned over a long time. If the Qiao family really hid some powerful old guy, then it would be tragic. Thinking of this, Riverward downed another half jar of strong liquor, paid the bill, and left leisurely. At this moment, the guests in the restaurant had long been stunned by Jiang Xi's drinking style. I've never seen anyone drink like this. He drank over 100 jugs in half a day. As a result, Jiang Xi left the name of the god of wine in this restaurant. Even after 1,000 years, the legend of the god of wine was still circulating in Ganyang City. After Jiang Xi left the restaurant, he wandered around Qianyang City for half a day, enjoying the scenery that was similar to ancient times. There were sugar-coated haws, donkeys rolling on the ground, and the brothel boats listening to songs. It was quite lively. It wasn't until nightfall that he entered a small alley that was rarely known by people. This was a secret workshop in the cultivation world of Qianyang City. Because Murong Planet's ruler, the Qiao family, had very strict control over the cultivation world. The transactions between cultivators could only be carried out in such a shady place. The Dark House of Ganyang City was held once every 3 months. Jiang Xi had been waiting for half a month for today, the day when the Dark House would open. In the past half a month, he had found a headhunter who was good at gathering information in the cultivation world of Murong Planet. Other than asking him to search for traces of the Wen family, he also entrusted him to search for information on spirit weapon transactions. Then, he found out about the existence of the Dark House. I have to be fully prepared. Not only do I have to prepare an escape route, but I also have to strengthen my combat strength. With his current strength, the Abyss Condensation Sword, which was only an inferior grade spirit weapon, could no longer keep up with the times. He had to change to a higher grade spirit weapon sword. According to Master's inherited memories, Murong Planet has always been a life planet known for its proficiency in weapon refinement. Although 10,000 years have passed and this planet has changed a lot, the legacy of weapon refinement shouldn't be broken, right? He should be able to find a suitable spirit weapon sword here. At the very least, he had to change to a middle-grade spirit weapon. Of course, it would be best if it was a high-grade one. The dark house was not underground, but in a 3-story pavilion that was easy to escape from. This was to avoid the attacks of the Chiao family cultivators. At the entrance of the dark house, the gatekeeper carefully checked Jiangxi's invitation token before letting Jiangxi in. After Jiangxi entered, he looked around. Including him, there were already 7 cultivators here. They were all at the golden core stage, and one of them was at the late stage golden core stage. In addition, Jiangxi found that this place was different from the market described in cultivation novels. The cultivators who participated in the Dark House's transactions did not wear any disguise measures such as masks or bamboo hats. Thinking about it, what was the use of wearing a mask? One could know what they looked like with a sweep of their spirit sense. Moreover, everyone was guarding against the Chiao family, so it didn't matter whether they disguised themselves here or not. When Jiangxi was inquiring about the others were also inquiring about him. Because Jiangxi's cultivation was also at the late-stage golden core stage, he was one of the 2 strongest cultivators here. However, no one took the initiative to ask about Jiangxi's background. That would be very rude. After about an hour, 2 more cultivators at the late-stage golden core stage came. The dark house began. Then, an ordinary-looking middle-aged woman walked down from the 3rd floor of the pavilion. Her cultivation was also at the late-stage golden core stage. She was the owner of this dark house. Jiangxi's heart skipped a beat. He felt that this middle-aged woman was a little strange, but he couldn't tell what was strange about her. At this time, the middle-aged woman said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin. As usual, state your needs. It's up to you whether you want to trade or not." Then, the others said a bunch of miscellaneous needs. They were all elixirs, spirit weapons, cultivation methods, and so on. Soon, it was the turn of another cultivator at the late-stage golden core stage who looked like an old Taoist. He coughed and said, "I need a 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit. I can exchange it with magic weapons and spirit crystals." Hearing this, Jiangxi smiled and said, "I do have a 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit, but I need a high-grade spirit weapon long sword." The old Taoist was slightly stunned and said hesitantly, "Although a 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit is rare, its value is not equal to a high-grade spirit weapon. Can't you use a mid-grade spirit weapon? Or I can exchange it with 10,000 low-grade spirit crystals. I only need a high-grade spirit weapon. If you have one, I can naturally take out something of equal value." Jiangxi looked calm. "No." The old Taoist smiled bitterly. Jiangxi was also a little disappointed. If a late-stage golden core stage cultivator didn't have a high-grade spirit weapon, then other cultivators at the middle stage and late-stage golden core stage would have no hope. A 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit was very rare on Murong Planet. Its price was 10 times more expensive than on Blue Planet. However, 10,000 low-grade spirit crystals was nothing to him. "I do have a high-grade spirit weapon, and it happens to be a long sword." At this time, the middle-aged woman in charge of the dark house spoke. "How do you want to trade?" Jiangxi asked. "I need an inheritance of array formations related to the unsealing seal." Hearing this, all the cultivators present looked at the middle-aged woman. Now that the seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven was about to be lifted, everyone naturally paid attention to this. Chapter 255. Everyone present knew that the entrance to Qianyang Grotto Heaven was completely controlled by the Chiao family. It was impossible for outsiders to enter Qianyang Grotto Heaven quietly. Could it be that this middle-aged woman had a way to bypass the Chiao family and enter? Everyone started guessing in their hearts, but no one took the initiative to ask. This was because they were all afraid of the middle-aged woman's strength. After all, not everyone could do this kind of underground business under the Chiao family's nose. Of course, Jiangxi had his own array formation inheritance. In fact, he had more than one kind of array formation inheritance. Although he was also guessing the middle-aged woman's motive for wanting this inheritance, he still said that he did not have it. Although superior-grade spirit weapons were expensive, it did not mean that they could only be bought on planet Murong. it was not worthwhile to expose his array formation inheritance. In the Tao Alliance, array formations were definitely one of the rarest inheritances. Previously, he only thought that planet Murong was famous for its weapon refinement, and that he might be able to find something good here. Who knew that he would encounter such an accident? The entire planet Murong seemed to have become a detention island. A late-stage golden core cultivator could not even find a 10,000-year-old spirit fruit. It sounded very pitiful. This also showed how tough the Chiao family, who currently ruled this planet, was. The underground business continued, and the middle-aged woman regained her calmness. She did not appear disappointed or depressed because of the failure of the transaction. 10 minutes later, the underground business ended. After all, it was not like an auntie in a market where she had to haggle. Everything was done according to needs. If there was something, there was something. If there was nothing, there was nothing. High efficiency and speed. Instead, when it was time to leave, the speed was much slower because they had to line up to leave. This was to ensure the safety of the participants. The early-stage golden core cultivators had to leave first and wait for more than 3 minutes before the next person could leave. With the speed of a golden core cultivator, 3 minutes was enough to reach a safe place. Soon, only Jiang Xi, the middle-aged woman, and the old Taoist priest were left in the underground business. The three of them were all late-stage golden core cultivators. The old Taoist priest was not satisfied. For the 10,000-year-old spirit fruit, he had participated in many underground business transactions in many places over the past 10 years, but the result was always failure. The 10,000-year-old spirit fruit was too precious. Even if they had it, they would not trade it. Now that he heard that Jiang Xi had it, he naturally wanted to fight for it. "Fellow Taoist, is there anything else you need?" he asked Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi thought about it and smiled. "I'm more interested in the Wen clan. Do you have any information about the Wen clan?" The old Taoist's eyes lit up and he quickly said, "Then you've asked the right person. My ancestor used to be a servant in the Wen family. He does have some understanding of the Wen family." "Oh? What I need to know is the current situation of the Wen family. Is something from 1,000 years ago feasible? Tell me about it. Let's start from over 10,000 years ago. After the death of the Tao integration stage patriarch, the Wen family continued to maintain its power and continued to rule the Mu Rong star for over 5,000 years. Up until 6,000 years ago, the Wen clan was still the ruler of Murong planet. However, it quickly declined and was replaced by the current Xiao clan." "I know what you're talking about." Jiang Xi smiled. "Don't be anxious, fellow Taoist. Let me tell you slowly. Very few people in the Murong planet cultivation world know that the Qiao clan's first-generation patriarch was actually just a child of the Tao integration stage patriarch from the Wen clan. 1,000 years ago, there was a massacre in China. The last bloodline of the Wen clan was wiped out by a mysterious force. This matter didn't spread. Because my ancestor used to be a servant in the Wen clan, he took care of the declining Wen clan and happened to discover this matter." The old Taoist's words were filled with caution. From beginning to end, he didn't point out that the Qiao clan was the culprit behind the Wen clan's destruction. However, as long as one wasn't an idiot, one could understand what he meant. The Wen clan was destroyed by the Qiao clan. Jiang Xi's expression was calm, but he sighed silently in his heart. Has the Wen clan been destroyed? Master is probably really going to die with a grievance. Jiang Xi knew the relationship between Taoist Ge and the Wen clan very well. This was recorded in his inherited memories back then. The Wen clan was able to remain strong after the Tao integration stage patriarch, Wen Yan, died precisely because they still had Taoist Ge as their backer. However, later on, which was 10,000 years ago, Taoist Ge went after the Ghost clan's powerful cultivator, Yin Tianxing. Furthermore, he set up the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array on the first moon on Earth to suppress Yin Tianxing and himself. Due to the lack of Heaven and Earth spirit energy, Taoist Ge died more than 6,000 years ago. This time coincided with the time when the Wen clan was overthrown as the ruler. Although he didn't know how the Qiao clan found out about Taoist Ji's death, It was normal for the Wind Clan to be overthrown as the ruler after losing their backer. The strong preyed on the weak. This was an eternal principle. Extermination shouldn't have happened. The Qiao clan deserves to die. The Wind Clan had been in decline for thousands of years, and only the last of them were left in the world. However, the Qiao clan still didn't let them off and wiped out the Wind Clan's bloodline. What was even more hateful was that the Qiao clan's first-generation patriarch was the child of the Wind Clan's Dao integration stage patriarch, Wen Yan. Child cultivators weren't slaves. They were close people, like their own children. The Qiao clan was so vicious. Jiangxi's heart was filled with anger, but he didn't express his anger so as not to expose his true thoughts. At this moment, neither he nor the old Taoist noticed. When the old Taoist recounted this matter, a trace of grief and anger flashed across the eyes of the middle-aged woman with an ordinary face not far away, but she quickly returned to normal. Jiangxi got his answer and took out a 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit and gave it to the old Taoist. The old Taoist left with great gratitude. Next, it was Jiangxi's turn to leave. However, like the old Taoist, Jiangxi also wanted to fight for it. If he could have a superior-grade spiritual weapon now, his strength would increase a little. After all, in the current situation, the stronger his strength, the better. At the same time, he also wanted to know if this middle-aged woman had a way to sneak into Qianyang Grotto Heaven. He directly asked the middle-aged woman, "Fellow Taoist, can you give me that superior-grade spiritual weapon? I only need the inheritance of array formations related to the reconciliation seal." "Fellow Taoist, you want to enter Qianyang Grotto Heaven? I'm very puzzled. Are you a cultivator from Murong Planet?" The middle-aged woman's rhetorical question shocked Jiangxi. This was the first time someone noticed this. He had already disguised himself very well and even used his spiritual power to grow long hair. He looked no different from a native cultivator of Murong Planet. Could it be that he still exposed something? "Fellow Taoist, what do you mean by that?" he responded calmly. "The Dark House's transaction is over. Fellow Taoist, you can leave now." The middle-aged woman closed the door and sent him off. Jiangxi was helpless. He couldn't use force to get an answer. Things like forcing people to buy or sell was something that couldn't be done unless it was absolutely necessary. Chapter 256. After leaving the dark house, Jiangxi's figure flashed and disappeared into the night. As for the middle-aged woman, she stood in the attic of the dark house and looked at the scene outside Gonyang City, her eyes flickering. One could see that there was a wide lake far away from the city, shrouded in clouds and mist. One could feel the dense spirit aura emitted by the lake even from here. It was as if a powerful spirit aura of heaven and earth was about to burst out from it. On the other side, Jiangxi returned to a quiet courtyard. Although he didn't get the spirit artifact he wanted in the dark house, he had an unexpected gain. He finally knew the whereabouts of the Wen family. Thinking of this, Jiangxi was still very angry. Even if the Wen family's destruction had nothing to do with him, he just felt that he had failed his master's trust. Taoist Ge was a person who knew how to repay kindness. And Jiangxi also knew how to repay kindness. Although he and Taoist Ge only had a face-to-face interaction for more than 10 minutes. But Taoist Ge had truly fulfilled his responsibility as a master. A master preaches, accepts, and dispels doubts. What Jiangxi obtained from Taoist Ji's inherited memories was far more than these 3 points. This inherited memory was endlessly useful to him. "Qiao family!" Jiangxi's eyes flashed with a cold light, hiding killing intent. However, he still maintained his calm and wasn't affected by his anger. He could distinguish the importance of the matter. "I still have to make other preparations." This trip to Murong Planet was not only to find the descendants of the Wen family. He also had another goal, which was to obtain the baleful Yang power of Gonyang Grotto Heaven. The entrance to Gonyang Grotto Heaven was now controlled by the Qiao family. Even if he took advantage of the chaos to enter, he had to be fully prepared before he could make a move. Next, Jiangxi used another half a month to secretly set up 10 teleportation arrays all over Murong Planet. Especially around the interstellar teleportation array of Murong planet, he set up a total of 6. The outer seal of Gonyang Grotto Heaven will be completely unsealed in about half a month. Just wait. When he was setting up the teleportation array, he had been paying attention to the situation outside Gonyang City. The blue smoke lake, which covered hundreds of square kilometers, was shrouded in thick fog. The current ruler of Murong planet, the cultivator family Chiao family, had sent out thousands of golden core cultivators to guard the surroundings of Blue Smoke Lake. At the same time, there were 3 nascent soul stage cultivators guarding the lake. Any cultivators who were not from the Chiao clan were not allowed to approach that place. Otherwise, they would be killed without mercy. With such tight security, it was impossible to sneak in. Therefore, he could only wait for the seal to be completely unsealed before taking advantage of the chaos to enter. With my strength and my understanding of formations, even if I take advantage of the chaos, there is a high chance that I can obtain baleful yang energy. Jiang Xi was full of confidence. This was because he had another advantage, which was that other people did not know that Qian Yang Cave had baleful yang energy. When he entered, no one would compete with him for it. When Taoist Ge sealed the baleful yang force inside, no one knew except for the Wen clan's ancestor, Wen Yen. Baleful yang energy was an energy form that was even rarer than baleful yin energy. Even in the 9 stellar regions of the Tao Alliance, it was extremely rare. It was something that could only be chanced upon and not sought after. Even money might not be able to buy it. If I could buy it, I would definitely not take this risk. Jiang Xi sighed softly. Just for this Blue Smoke Lake, the Chiao clan had sent over 1,000 golden core cultivators and 3 nascent soul cultivators. However, if the Chiao clan could exterminate the Wen clan, they definitely had more than what they showed on the surface. Therefore, even if he took advantage of the chaos to enter, he would have to take a huge risk. While waiting for Qian Yang Cave's seal to be unsealed, Jiang Xi continued to comprehend the Tao of formations in his inherited memories. Just like that, another 3 days passed. His transmission pearl lit up and someone sent him a message. There were very few people who had his transmission imprint. Other than Xian Tian and the others, there were only Xin Wanxi and Gong Shi from the Pale Blue Planet, as well as Manager Zhang from the Pale Blue Planet. Jiang Xi accepted the message and the figure of a middle-aged man appeared in front of him. The man had an elegant temperament, and was dressed like a scholar. In fact, this person was a mid-stage golden core cultivator. He was a hunter who was good at gathering information in the Murong planet's cultivation world. Jiang Xi had once asked him to find out information about the Wen clan and the spiritual weapon trade. "Old Bao, is there any news?" asked Jiang Xi. Old Bao was how this hunter addressed outsiders. He shook his head and said, "I really can't help you with the spiritual weapon you need. The spiritual weapon trade on Murong planet is controlled by the Chiao clan. Apart from the Dark House, there are no other good channels." Jiang Xi was a little disappointed. It seemed like he could only wait until he returned to the Pale Blue Planet and make a move through the Pale Blue Planet. At this point, Old Bao smiled and said, "However, there's a result for the other matter you asked me to do." "You found the Wen clan?" Jiang Xi remained calm. "That's right. But as far as I know, the last bloodline of the Wen clan was exterminated 1,000 years ago. I've also heard about what you said. In fact, there's still another bloodline of the Wen clan. They live in another city in China, Yiyang City." "How did you know?" "Haha, there's no news that the Dark House can't find out since it has existed on Murong planet for 10,000 years. Then why don't you get me a superior grade spiritual weapon?" Old Bao choked for a moment and laughed dryly before saying, "If you don't believe me, I can bring you to take a look." Jiang Xi pondered for a moment and nodded. "That's fine too." Although he didn't know if Old Bao was telling the truth, he had to take a look anyway. What if the Wen clan really had a bloodline left behind? This way, he could also complete his master's request and let his master die in peace. As for whether Old Bao would have any ill intentions, Jiang Xi wasn't afraid at all. As long as he didn't encounter a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, he was confident that he could deal with his opponent Late at night, Old Bao rushed to Jiangxi's residence and brought Jiangxi to Yiyang City. Along the way, Jiangxi didn't let his guard down just because he was strong. He observed the surroundings at all times. He discovered that there were also wild forests on Murong Planet. However, there were no demons, only some wild beasts that had yet to become demons. In other words, wild demons couldn't be seen in the entire Tao Alliance's 9 major star zones as long as it wasn't a wild planet. The two of them flew at high speed above the wilderness. After flying for a while, they passed by a mountain range. Jiangxi stopped and asked with a frown, "Old Bao, what's the meaning of this?" After coming to Murong Planet, he had already memorized the map of this planet in his mind. They weren't going in the direction of Yiyang City. Moreover, the mountain range below was a little strange. "You have a good spiritual sense indeed." Old Bao no longer concealed it, and sneered. "I think you're courting death." Jiangxi's expression was calm. After careful observation, he discovered that someone had set up a killing formation using the mountain range below. However, from what he could see, this formation was very crude. "Ha ha, sister, do it!" Old Bao laughed and shouted as he flew back. Jiangxi's expression was indifferent. He didn't immediately kill Old Bao. He wanted to see what Old Bao's purpose was. Chapter 257. Buzz. Suddenly, the heaven and earth spirit she gathered. The area where the mountain range was located was quickly shrouded in gray fog. "Kill!" A delicate shout sounded in the mountain range. Instantly, countless weapons containing killing intent were formed. Sabers, swords, staffs, axes, hooks, tridents, 108 weapons whizzed toward Jiangxi. They arrived in an instant. These weapons that were formed by the formation emitted a very strong power. They could easily kill an early Golden Elixir Realm cultivator. Even a late Golden Elixir Realm cultivator would be injured if they were hit. However, Jiangxi's strength had long surpassed this level of cultivation. "Ridiculous!" Jiangxi took out the Abyss Coagulation Sword and stabbed out. The sword shadow formed by the sword intent seemed to be able to penetrate space and pass through the weapons formed by the formation. As fast as lightning, it accurately landed on a small mountain peak in the gray fog below. "Impossible!" Old Bao's voice sounded at the same time as the delicate shout. Boom! The weapons formed by the formation, accompanied by the gray fog that shrouded the mountain range, dissipated in an instant. Jiangxi's expression was calm. He could see countless loopholes in such a crude formation at a glance. This sword strike of his had directly hit the biggest loophole in the formation. He broke the formation with one strike. "Come out, don't force me to attack." Jiangxi looked at the mountain range below. "Bastard, go to hell!" 2 cold lights formed by spirit chi shot out from the mountain range. At the same time, 2 figures followed closely behind and attacked Jiangxi. After seeing the appearance of the figures, Jiangxi smiled helplessly. As cautious as he was, he had been schemed against. One of the 2 people who killed him was Old Bao, and the other was the middle-aged woman from the Ganyang City Dark House. At the same time, he understood. Why did he feel that the middle-aged woman was a little strange last time at the Dark House? Because the middle-aged woman's temperament was somewhat similar to Old Bao's. After understanding all this, Jiangxi no longer showed mercy. The gale domain immediately spread out. Whoosh! The gale whistled like a blade, sweeping through the world. The power of the domain directly trapped Old Bao and the middle-aged woman. The 2 cold lights with extremely powerful power also disappeared into thin air. "Tao domain!" Old Bao and the middle-aged woman's expressions changed drastically. They found it hard to believe. Their faces were filled with despair. They did not expect Jiangxi to be so strong. He had comprehended a Tao domain at the late-stage Golden Core realm. This kind of talent had already not appeared in the entire Murong planet for over 1,000 years. Inside his own domain, Jiangxi walked slowly towards the 2 of them as if he was standing on solid ground. "Why did you set me up?" Jiangxi asked expressionlessly. "Everyone has the right to punish this bastard," Old Bao said angrily. Repaying kindness with ingratitude, sooner or later you will suffer retribution. The middle-aged woman also cursed. Inexplicable. Jiang Xi shook his head and ignored their crazy words. He asked Old Bao. You said that the Wen family's bloodline still exists. Is that true? Bastard, just kill me if you want to. Old Bao glared at him. The pitiful bloodline of the Wen clan is going to be wiped out by us. How hateful! How hateful! The middle-aged woman said with grief and indignation. The two of them knew that they had no chance of survival against Jiang Xi, so they no longer hid the secret they had kept for so many years. Jiang Xi was stunned and hurriedly asked, Are you the descendants of Uncle Master Wen Yan? According to seniority, there was no problem for him to address the Wen family's patriarch as Uncle Master. Bastard, how dare you humiliate my Wen family's patriarch? I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. Old Bao was furious. Shut up! Jiang Xi was also enraged. Calling him a bastard, did he eat too much dog meat? Jiang Xi turned his gaze to the middle-aged woman. She looked a lot more rational. Do you know how to form the Wen family's bloodline mark? So what if I do? So what if I don't? The middle-aged woman laughed bitterly. Jiang Xi smiled helplessly, and raised his hand to form a seal. After completing a set of complicated seals, the spiritual energy in his body was inexplicably drawn and condensed into a complicated pattern in his palm. This pattern was the Wen family's bloodline mark. However, if it was someone from the Wen family who formed the seal, not only would the spiritual energy in their body be drawn, but also their blood. Impossible, the Wen family's bloodline mark is passed down from generation to generation. It's impossible for outsiders to know. The middle-aged woman's expression changed drastically. Who are you? Old Bao also widened his eyes. Show me the seal first, then I'll tell you. Jiang Xi waved his hand to disperse the Gale domain. After the two of them were no longer bound by the domain, they did not resist, nor did they think of escaping. Because of the strength Jiang Xi had displayed, the two of them realized that they could not escape. Moreover, they wanted to know Jiang Xi's identity very much. Then, the two of them formed the seal at the same time. Their movements were exactly the same as Jiang Xi's. However, when the seal was completed, a wisp of blood light was drawn from their bodies. Accompanied by spiritual energy, it condensed into a complicated blood-colored pattern in their palms. Jiang Xi smiled. He was very happy. After searching around, it turned out that the descendant of the Wen family was right beside him. It seemed that when he first came to Murong Planet and secretly inquired about the Wen family in the cultivation world, he should have been targeted by them. The middle-aged woman said in a low voice, You can tell me who you are. Before he could finish his sentence, more than 50 figures exuding powerful auras quickly surrounded him from all directions. They were all in the golden core stage. Haha! The Wen family's bloodline mark. After so many years of searching, I finally found the Wen family's remaining members. Kill them all! A wild laughter echoed in the sky above the mountain range. It's the Qiao family's cultivators! Old Bao and the middle-aged woman were shocked and angry. Then they glared at Jiang Xi. It's you! You've led them here! Bastard, you're really from the Qiao family! Jiang Xi shook his head and did not explain. His gaze turned cold as he looked at the golden core cultivators who were surrounding them from all directions. Humph! Gale domain! The power of the domain spread, and countless gusts of wind, like blades, immediately enveloped the attackers. Ah! This is the Tao domain! Retreat, retreat! More than 50 golden core cultivators turned pale with fright. They were terrified and wanted to escape. But with the power of the Gale domain, with their cultivation level, if they did not fully comprehend the true meaning of Tao, there was no way they could escape. Jiang Xi was expressionless. His body swayed and he attacked with his sword. The sword was like a ray of light. Its speed was so fast that it looked like it was flashing, leaving behind afterimages in the Gale domain. When the afterimages disappeared, more than 50 golden core cultivators were all dead. There was a ghastly hole in their foreheads. Even though there were 4 golden core advanced stage cultivators, they could not block his attack. This scene shocked Old Bao and the middle-aged woman. They were shocked and could not believe it. Those were more than 50 golden core cultivators. Even if a nascent soul advanced stage cultivator attacked, he would not be able to kill them instantly. Who are you? The middle-aged woman opened her eyes wide. According to seniority, I should be your ancestor. Jiang Xi smiled. Chapter 258. Jiang Xi did not explain in detail to the two of them. Instead, he waved his hand and drove the power of his domain to collect all the storage magic treasures of the Qiao family cultivators. As for the corpses, they turned into powder in the blink of an eye under the strong wind and drifted into the mountain range, becoming natural nourishment. Destroying the corpses, then Jiang Xi said to the two of them, "It's not good to stay here for long. Let's find another place." Old Bao and the middle-aged woman already believed that Jiang Xi was not a bad person, so they took Jiang Xi and left this place. After flying for a while, Jiang Xi stopped again because this was the direction back to Ganyang City. Just now, the people from the Qiao family might have been following me and Old Bao. Isn't it inappropriate to return to Ganyang City? Jiang Xi frowned. It's not a possibility, it's a certainty. Moreover, the one following was you, not me. Old Bao snorted coldly. Jiang Xi smiled and did not get angry. Because what Old Bao said made sense. It should be related to when he first came to Murong Planet and secretly inquired about the Wen family. If even Old Bao could keep an eye on him, the Qiao family, as the actual ruler of Murong Planet, would naturally be able to find out. It doesn't matter. Just wear this. The middle-aged woman handed Jiang Xi a transparent mask. Jiang Xi took it doubtfully and found that it was a low-grade spirit weapon. He used his spiritual sense to refine it, and it only took a moment for him to succeed. The spiritual sense of a late-stage golden core cultivator could easily refine a low-grade spirit weapon. Then, he also understood the function of the mask, disguise. As long as the other party's cultivation did not exceed the golden core stage, they would not be able to see the true appearance under the mask. Good stuff. Jiang Xi sighed in admiration. He slapped himself in the face again. In front of cultivators, ordinary masks did not have the effect of disguising, but spirit weapons did. Then, with a thought, his facial appearance immediately changed. This time, the people from the Qiao family should not be able to recognize him, unless they were at the nascent soul stage. However, for something like tracking, they probably would not send a nascent soul stage cultivator. Is there a higher level? Jiang Xi asked. His current opponent is starting to develop towards the nascent soul stage. However, his defense against the spiritual sense of an Aurus core stage cultivator is still too low. No! Old Bao and the middle-aged woman refused in unison. Jiang Xi smiled. That meant there was one. Moreover, the two people in front of him must have disguised themselves. No wonder they all looked so ordinary. They were the type that one would forget after taking a glance at them. They wouldn't attract any attention. The three of them arrived at the secret workshop in Ganyang City. It was an ordinary 3-story building, which was inconspicuous in the huge Qianyang City. Old Bao and the middle-aged woman looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then, the middle-aged woman said, "Now, can you tell me who you are?" Jiang Xi shook his head. "Not yet. Fellow Taoists, are you toying with us?" Their expressions instantly turned ugly. "Haha, I know you guys have already comprehended the true meaning of the Tao. First, make a Tao oath and swear that you won't reveal what I'm about to say. Then, it won't be too late for me to tell you," Jiang Xi said with a smile. "Tao oath?" Old Bao and the middle-aged woman looked at each other. "Don't worry, I won't cheat you. You guys can't be, right? I'll teach you. Come, repeat after me." Jiang Xi had a kind smile on his face and looked harmless. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. "Oh right, I still don't know your real names and appearances. Since we're being honest, you should tell me your names. Take off your masks and let me see. Wen Yoxin. Wen Feng." The siblings were a little confused by Jiang Xi. However, the two of them were Aurus core cultivators after all. They quickly reacted and only said their names without taking off their masks. When Yoshin and Wen Feng shook their heads at the same time. Fellow Taoist, you should tell us your identity first. They didn't want to reveal their true appearances and were even more unwilling to make an oath. The higher one's cultivation, the more taboo things like oaths were. Especially this Tao oath, it didn't sound right. Do you want to live or die? Jiang Xi maintained his smile. The siblings looked at each other again with bitter expressions and finally nodded helplessly. Jiang Xi coughed and said, Repeat after me. In the name of the heavenly Tao, I, Wen Yoshin and Wen Feng, swear with the true intent of the Tao that we've comprehended. Then, the two of them followed Jiang Xi and recited this complicated and restrictive Tao oath. Their faces darkened. It was as if something had descended on them from the unseen world. Both of them felt that they had been cheated badly this time. The greatest restriction placed on them by this Tao oath was that if they leaked what Riverward was about to say, then their comprehension of the Tao of the heavens and earth would be unable to advance in the slightest. That was equivalent to cutting off their cultivation path directly. However, their lives were in the hands of Jiang Xi and they could only do as he said. Jiang Xi smiled kindly and was in a good mood. This was a good feeling. Back then, his master forced him to swear, and now, he was forcing the descendants of his master's friend to swear. It was indeed the cycle of karma. After the Wen siblings finished swearing, they looked at Jiang Xi with dark faces. Their meaning was obvious. It's time to reveal your identity. Jiang Xi smiled and nodded slightly. Naturally, the fewer people who knew that he had obtained the inheritance of Taoist Ge, the better. The principle of treasuring a jade ring becomes a crime was applicable in any era and any place. Then, he did not hide anything and said to the two of them, Do you know who designed the bloodline mark of the Wen family? I saw it in the jade slip of the family tree. It was designed by the best friend of the Wen family's ancestor, and the benefactor of the Wen family, Taoist Ge. Wen Yoshin replied, I'm Taoist Ji's disciple. Jiang Xi said with a smile. Impossible, Taoist Ji's life jade slip was broken 6,000 years ago. Moreover, according to the jade slip of the Wen family tree, Taoist Ge has never accepted a disciple. Even if you're Taoist Ji's disciple before his death, after 6,000 years of cultivation, you're at least at the nascent soul stage. It's impossible that you're only at the golden core stage. Wen Feng immediately retorted. Wen Yoshin also looked at Jiang Xi warily. Your analysis is correct. I'm indeed Master's disciple before his death. I should say that I'm Master's disciple before his remnant soul dissipated. Then, Jiang Xi recounted the situation of him acknowledging Taoist Ge on the first moon. He also briefly recounted the experience of Taoist Ge dying under the heaven and earth spirit lock formation in order to suppress Yin Tianshan. The Wen siblings had already sworn a Tao oath and did not have to worry about this leaking out. After Wen Yoshin and Wen Feng heard this, their expressions became solemn. The two of them immediately knelt down and kowtowed to the void, remembering Taoist Ge. When Jiang Xi saw this, a smile appeared on his face. Before his master's remnant soul dissipated, he had specially asked him to come and visit the descendants of the Wen family. At this moment, after the Wen siblings paid their respects to Taoist Ge, they actually turned around and bowed respectfully at Jiang Xi's feet. Wen Yoshin greets senior granduncle. Wen Feng greets senior granduncle. Chapter 259. Two middle-aged men knelt in front of him and called him Martial Granduncle. Jiang Xi felt a little strange. After all, he was only 22 years old this year. Wen Yoshin and Wen Feng, one was in the late golden core stage and the other was in the middle golden core stage. For both of them to be able to cultivate to this stage, their ages must be very old. However, when the siblings took off the masks they used to disguise themselves, only then did Jiang Xi realize that the two of them were not bad-looking, and their temperaments were even better. Wen Yoshin was dignified and gentle, looking like a kind big sister next door. After Wen Feng took off his mask, he also had a scholarly aura, like a young scholar rushing to take the exam. Jiang Xi nodded repeatedly. That was more like it. Then, he asked the two about the grudge between the Wen and Qiao families. The Wen siblings were furious. "Qiao Changxing! Ungrateful people will die a horrible death," Wen Yoxin said coldly. "Sooner or later, I will uproot the Qiao family." Wen Feng's words were also filled with murderous intent. "Qiao Changxing?" Jiang Xi asked. Wen Yoxin said with a face full of disgust. "He is the Dao child of the Qiao family's first patriarch, Patriarch Wen Yan. 10,000 years ago, after Patriarch Wen Yan died, Qiao Changxing left the Wen family. According to the records in the family history Jade Slip, 6,000 years ago, the life Jade Slip of Patriarch Ge, who protected the Wen family, suddenly shattered. Then, in less than half a day, Qiao Changxing got the news from somewhere and brought 3 primordial soul stage experts. He killed the 2 remaining primordial soul stage patriarchs of the Wen family outside the Murong planet. The huge Wen family was wiped out because of this. At that time, because the galaxy teleportation array was controlled by the Qiao family, the surviving members of the Wen family broke up and hid in various places of the Murong planet. However, the Qiao family did not give up. They wanted to exterminate the bloodline of the Wen family completely. Marshal Granduncle saw it just now. A whole 6,000 years. Until today, the Qiao family has not given up on killing us. The siblings looked sad and indignant. At the same time, they also felt a deep sense of powerlessness. The Wen clan had lost both a Dao integration stage patriarch and a nascent soul stage patriarch. They were no match for the Qiao clan. Even if the Wen clan had primordial soul cultivators now, it was useless. Back then, the 2 primordial soul cultivators were killed by Qiao Changxing and the other 3. And the 2 of them were still in the golden core stage. Although he was determined to take revenge, he was very clear in his heart. It was too difficult to take revenge. Jiang Xi also sighed softly. The grudge between the Wen clan and the Qiao clan reflected the law of the jungle. Of course, there were also many suspicious points. Taoist Ji's life tablet had shattered. This should be a very secret piece of information. The Wen clan shouldn't be so stupid as to spread such news. How did Qiao Changxing find out? Furthermore, the information he received was so accurate and timely. Life token, Jiang Xi muttered. The life slip was a special spiritual weapon that was refined with the spiritual sense of the cultivator. It could monitor the life and death of the cultivator. Under normal circumstances, cultivators would not easily give their life slips to others, unless it was from their sect or someone they could trust. Other than the Wen clan, only the Purple Heaven sect has a piece of Master's life jade. Purple Heaven sect. Jiang Xi shook his head. His master had tricked him. However, this was not the main point of his current consideration. Jiang Xi asked again. Is Qiao Changxing still alive? Wen Feng was a little hesitant, his tone uncertain. When Qiao Changxing brought people to destroy my Wen clan, he was already more than 4,000 years old. His cultivation was at the mid-stage Essence Soul stage, and the normal lifespan of an Essence Soul stage cultivator is 5,000 years. Logically speaking, his lifespan should have been exhausted not long after he destroyed my Wen clan. However, I once inquired about this on the dark net and deduced that the probability of him still being alive is 30%. A 30% chance is not low. Otherwise, the Qiao clan would not have been able to control Murong planet steadily for more than 6,000 years. Jiang Xi frowned, worried. According to his judgment, if there was a 1% chance of something happening, then in the end, that 1% could become 100%. Subsequently, Jiang Xi's brows relaxed again. Although it was bad news, it was also good news from another point of view. Qianyang Grotto Heaven was about to be unsealed. If one did not know the Qiao clan's background, one would not be able to enter rashly at that time. One might really be slapped to death by this old fart. Jiang Xi thought for a while, then looked at Wen Yoxin and asked. Last time, you said that you needed the legacy of array formations related to unsealing. Do you have other ways to enter Qianyang Grotto Heaven? Wen Yoxin laughed bitterly. The Qiao clan guards the blue smoke lake so tightly. What other ways do I have? Then why did you, It's because in the process of escaping for so many years, my ancestor lost the method of unsealing the ancestral land. Without this, even if we enter the ancestral land during the chaos, we will not be able to obtain the legacy. No wonder! Jiang Xi was enlightened. Losing the method of unsealing the ancestral land was equivalent to the Wen clan directly losing the most important legacy. It would be even more impossible for them to compete with the Qiao clan. Back then, Taoist Ge had set up two major arrays for Qianyang Grotto Heaven, one inside and one outside. The outer ceiling array formation was used to cover and protect the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven. The inner ceiling array formation was used to protect the true legacy of the Wen clan's ancestral land. The dark yang energy was a component of the inner ceiling array formation. With the dark yang energy, even if Master's remnant spirit dissipates, the powerful array formation known as the Blood Seal Trigram Fire Array will not be able to unseal it. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi smiled. I can give you the legacy of unsealing the ancestral land, and it's the lost method of unsealing the ancestral land of the Wen clan, but the array formation of the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven was designed by Taoist Ge. Of course, he knew the method of unsealing the ancestral land of the Wen clan. Hearing this, the siblings were overjoyed. Wen Yoxin quickly nodded. Don't worry, Uncle Granduncle. It's a fair deal. She knew that Jiang Xi needed upper-grade spiritual weapons. Then, she took out two items from her storage ring. A long sword with a cold light and a transparent mask as thin as a cicada's wing. These are upper-grade spiritual weapons left behind by my ancestor after escaping for many years. Unfortunately, there are no supreme-grade spiritual weapons. Wen Yoxin was a little embarrassed, because she felt that she was taking advantage of Jiang Xi. Compared with the legacy of the Wen clan, upper-grade spiritual weapons were not worth mentioning. It's okay. These are enough. After all, I'm the senior. Jiang Xi laughed and took the upper-grade spiritual sword and mask. Then he said, I see that you have studied arrays. Do you really like arrays? Or do you just want to deduce the method of unsealing the ancestral land? Wen Yoxin smiled. Uncle Granduncle, I've been studying arrays since I was a child. At first, it was to deduce the method of unsealing the ancestral land. Later, I gradually fell in love with arrays. But compared to Uncle Granduncle, I'm still far behind. In her opinion, Jiang Xi's attainments in arrays must be far beyond hers since he could break her most powerful killing array with one strike. When the matter here is over, I'll find time to organize a legacy of Master's array formation for you. Jiang Xi smiled. Ah. Thank you, Uncle Granduncle. Wen Yoxin knelt on the ground in surprise. Wen Feng also knelt down with his sister. At the same time, he was envious. However, he was not good at arrays. There were detailed records of Taoist Ge in the jade slip of the Wen clan's genealogy. The siblings knew very well how powerful their ancestors' Dao formations was. Jiang Xi smiled gently. The method of unsealing the ancestral land of the Wen clan was important to the Wen clan. But to him, it was worthless. He felt bad about exchanging the method of unsealing for two upper-grade spiritual weapons. After all, this was a true junior, and he should not take advantage of her. It was a matter of principle. Chapter 260. Next, Jiang Xi stayed in the dark house. While refining the two upper-grade spiritual weapons, he waited for the outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven to be completely unsealed. Extreme Cold Sword, Mask of the Imposter. Extreme Cold Sword doesn't sound good. Let's change it to Killer Shadow Sword. The name of Mask of the Imposter is okay. It can be kept. Jiang Xi renamed the spiritual weapons. The Killer Shadow Sword was the first weapon he owned when he embarked on the path of martial arts. It was very meaningful. He was very satisfied with the quality of the two spiritual weapons. The reason why Murong Planet was famous for being good at refining weapons was mainly due to the Wen family. When the Wen family's ancestor, Wen Yan, was still alive, they were a family of cultivators who were good at refining weapons. Back then, they were quite famous in the entire Xixiu region. All of this was recorded in Taoist Ji's inherited memories. These two upper-grade spiritual weapons were passed down after the Wen family was destroyed. Of course, they were of excellent quality. The high-grade longsword, which had been renamed the Shadow Slaughtering Sword, was able to cut the low-grade Abyss Condensing Sword into two with a single slash before it was fully refined. The upper-grade spiritual weapon, Mask of the Impostor, had functions that made Jiang Xi very satisfied. After disguising himself, even nascent soul cultivators couldn't see through him. It was simply the best auxiliary equipment for causing trouble. In more than 10 days, Qianyang Grotto Heaven will be completely unsealed. I'll try to finish refining the two spiritual weapons before then. Jiang Xi set a small goal for himself, and then began to focus on refining. At the same time, although the Qiao family was tough, this was a grade 4 planet after all. There were many cultivators in the cultivation world who dared to take risks. Therefore, more and more cultivators gathered outside Qianyang City. Soon, there were more than 1,000 cultivators. There were a few nascent soul cultivators, and the rest were golden core cultivators. 10 days after Jiang Xi went into seclusion to refine the spiritual weapons, something unexpected happened when Qianyang Grotto Heaven was about to be unsealed. 300 miles south of Qianyang City was the location of the Blue Smoke Lake. Today, the Qiao family sent another 1,000 golden core cultivators. Therefore, there were more than 2,000 golden core cultivators guarding the Blue Smoke Lake. There were originally 3 nascent soul cultivators above the Blue Smoke Lake, but now there were 6. One of them was even at the late nascent soul stage. Recently, many courageous cultivators had been waiting within 300 miles of the Blue Smoke Lake. However, they did not approach the Blue Smoke Lake. The mist that enveloped the Blue Smoke Lake became thicker and thicker. The spiritual aura emitted from the entrance of Qianyang Grotto Heaven was getting stronger and stronger. At the same time, there was also a burning sensation that filled the area. The temperature was rapidly rising. The land within a radius of 300 miles quickly became dry, and the vegetation gradually withered and died. The outer seal of the Qianyang cave was about to be lifted. On this day, above the Blue Smoke Lake, the late nascent soul stage cultivator from the Qiao clan suddenly opened his eyes and a scorching light shot out. He said coldly, "Cultivators who are not from the Qiao clan are forbidden to come within a radius of 150 kilometers from this place. I'll give you 10 breaths of time to leave. Otherwise, you'll be killed without mercy." His threatening voice, reinforced by spiritual energy, reverberated between heaven and earth. The powerful aura he emitted made people feel even more fearful. Within Qianyang City, Jiang Xi was awakened from his seclusion by this voice. He immediately flew to the 3rd floor of the Dark House's attic and looked toward the Blue Smoke Lake. When Yoxin and Wen Feng flew up as well, their expressions grim. "That late nascent soul stage cultivator is the head of the Qiao clan, Qiao Xian. The mid-nascent soul stage cultivator next to him is his son, Qiao Sui," Wen Feng said in a low voice. He had been lurking in the dark net for many years and was very familiar with the Qiao clan's situation. Late nascent soul stage. Jiang Xi's gaze locked onto Qiao Xian. The head of the Qiao clan was wearing a black spiritual artifact battle suit. His eyebrows were a strange fiery red, and his surroundings were constantly filled with extremely hot domain power. He was very strong. Outside the city, the cultivators who were not from the Qiao clan were guarding the Blue Smoke Lake. Under Qiao Xian's intimidation, some of them became timid and retreated 300 miles from the Blue Smoke Lake. However, there were still some who did not believe it and remained where they were. Especially those who had connections, power, and higher cultivations. They did not believe that the Qiao clan would dare to be ruthless soon. 10 breaths of time passed. Qiao Xian saw that there were still hundreds of people within 300 miles. His eyes under his fiery red eyebrows shot out blazing flames. His body also emitted a flame-like domain power. "Kill!" Immediately, the 6 Qiao clan nascent soul cultivators above the Blue Smoke Lake moved. "Kill!" A fiery red battle saber appeared in Qiao Xian's hand under the support of the domain power. In an instant, he appeared in front of an elderly early-stage nascent soul cultivator. With a slash of the saber, a powerful aura erupted. Xiao Xian! I'm your father-in-law! The early-stage nascent soul cultivator shouted angrily and hurriedly attacked. Didn't you hear what I said? Those who are not from the Qiao clan will be killed without mercy! Xiao Xian showed no mercy. Dense flames condensed into a blade and attached to the spirit chi battle saber. Another slash of the saber seemed to burn everything. The temperature was extremely high. The old man was shocked and hurriedly dodged. However, the domain power restricted him, causing his speed to plummet. Whoosh! He was hit by the saber. A cultivator in the early nascent soul stage turned into a cluster of ashes in an instant. Then, Qiao Xian didn't stop for a moment, and turned to kill the other cultivators who weren't from the Qiao clan. Those people wanted to escape, but how could they? Even an early-stage nascent soul cultivator was killed in 2 slashes, let alone golden core cultivators. In less than 10 breaths of time, within 300 miles of the Blue Smoke Lake, there wasn't a single cultivator who wasn't from the Qiao clan. This act of intimidation showed the Qiao clan's tyrannical, unyielding, and cruel methods. Those who had retreated in advance out of fear were now filled with lingering fear. Even the thought of taking advantage of the chaos to enter Qianyang Grotto Heaven had disappeared. No one wasn't afraid of death. Xiao Xian had even killed his father-in-law, so how could he show mercy? Jiangxi's expression was also extremely solemn. The development of the situation had exceeded his expectations. He had imagined that the Qiao clan would act in advance to intimidate the other cultivators, but he didn't expect that they would be so ruthless. This Xiao Xian was truly a ruthless person. He even killed his father-in-law without hesitation. Then, here came the problem. The outer seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven was about to be unsealed. Now that the Qiao clan had made this move, not many people dared to take the risk. If there was no chaos, how could they take advantage of the chaos to enter? Force their way in? Jiangxi didn't have this idea at all. Not to mention whether the Qiao clan's first ancestor, Qiao Changxing, was still alive, he didn't have the confidence to win against this Xiao Xian. Not to mention, there were still 2,000 Qiao clan golden core cultivators and 5 nascent soul cultivators. Forcing their way in was courting death. Can't cause chaos? I don't believe you can't. Jiangxi took a deep breath and was determined. Since he couldn't break out of the current predicament in the circle of Murong planet, then he would jump out of this circle. Chapter 261. The Pale Blue Planet was a large planet that was famous for its open interstellar trade. The cultivators living on this planet were not only native to the Pale Blue Planet, but also came from various galaxies in the Pale Blue Star region. There were also cultivators from other star regions and star regions. The identities and origins of the cultivators also showed various characteristics. For example, immortal sects, ancient families, space hunters, interstellar merchants, slave traders, and so on. On this day, a shocking piece of news spread rapidly in the cultivation world of the Pale Blue Planet. Then, because of the existence of the Heavenly Eye of the Taoist Alliance, it was extremely convenient for them to communicate. This news spread quickly from the Pale Blue Planet to the entire Pale Blue Star region, and then to the entire Zixia region. The inheritance of an Essence Soul stage powerhouse suddenly appeared on a level 4 planet called Murong in the bright Blue Star region. I heard that it's a Grotto Heaven's secret realm. The Essence Soul stage powerhouse is dead, and the seal on the Grotto Heaven has been lifted. The interstellar teleportation coordinates of this planet have been announced. Who is this? This is too ruthless. I wonder if it's true or not. Anyone who discovers this kind of inheritance would keep it a secret. Why would they take the initiative to announce it? Is there something wrong with their brains? Who cares if it's true or not? Let's go first. Isn't it just 10,000 teleportation fees? I have to go even if I don't eat any elixirs for 10 years. If it's true, it'll be a great opportunity. The inheritance of an Essence Soul stage cultivator was very attractive. In a star zone, Tao integration stage cultivators were the most powerful cultivators on the surface, and nascent divinity stage cultivators were the most powerful cultivators. Just like Qing Xian sect's patriarch Qing Xian, who only had the combat power of an Essence Soul Stage cultivator, was famous in the Pale Blue Star region. Not to mention a real Essence Soul Stage cultivator. An Essence Soul Stage powerhouse who had opened up a Grotto Heaven secret realm was in existence, who had truly comprehended the Tao of heaven and earth. They could easily destroy a planet with a wave of their hand. If one could get such an inheritance, they might have a chance to cultivate to the Essence Soul Stage. Therefore, those who heard this news, as long as they were powerful enough, acted immediately. They quickly rushed to Murong through the interstellar teleportation array. In terms of cultivation, most of them were in the Golden Core stage, followed by the Nascent Soul stage. Although the Nascent Soul stage cultivators were more eager to inherit the Primordial Spirit stage, there was no other way. After all, the number of Aurous Core stage cultivators was greater. As for the Primordial Soul stage cultivators, there was no need for them to dig up the tombs of other Primordial Soul stage cultivators. Because Murong Star was sealed, no one could clearly find out the specific information about Murong Star. Pale Blue Planet, Waterfront City, Teleportation Hall. Gong Shi had never thought that the interstellar teleportation array would be so popular. Who had ever seen thousands of Golden Core and Nascent Soul cultivators fighting to be teleported? If it were not for the Tsingyun sect urgently sending an early Primordial Spirit stage elder to guard the place. It was estimated that this teleportation hall, which covered an area of more than 100 square kilometers, would be turned into ashes by these restless cultivators. This early stage Primordial Soul Stage Elder was not just there to guard the teleportation hall. He directly placed the Tsengyun sect disciples who came later in the queue to the front. The Tsengyun sect was the strongest immortal Tao sect in the Kanglan Star region. For the higher-ups, the inheritance of the primordial spirit realm was not that precious. But to the disciples, it was also an opportunity. Therefore, the higher-ups of the Tsingyun sect sent a team of disciples over as an experience. A team of 10 people, 1 mid-stage nascent soul stage, 3 early-stage nascent soul stage, and 6 late-stage golden core stage. Among them, the mid-stage nascent soul stage genius disciple Feng Si was the leader this time. They were teleported to Murong Star through the interstellar teleportation array. After they left, the only ones left were the noisy cultivators who were fighting to be teleported. However, under the suppression of the early-stage primordial soul stage elder, everyone began to line up for the teleportation. At this time, in the teleportation hall management room, the guard captain Gong Shi and his best friend Shinwansi were watching the show. The teleportation hall was taken over by the Tsengyun sect elders and direct disciples, so Gong Shi was free. Old Gong, what do you think Jiangge is after? Is this the character of such a mysterious and noble person? He doesn't even care about the inheritance of the primordial soul stage? Shinwansi could not understand and was still surprised. He was the one who helped spread the news. As a small interstellar merchant who had been on Blue Star for nearly 100 years, he might not be very strong, but he had a wide network. It only took him 10 minutes to complete the task that Jiangxi had entrusted him with. Maybe he really doesn't care about it. Didn't you say that Lord Jiangxi took dozens of stones to Blue Cloud Star to exchange for money? This kind of person spends spirit crystals like throwing stones. Maybe he's a descendant of some ancient family. It's very likely that there's a Tao integration stage ancestor in his family. Naturally, he doesn't care about the inheritance of the primordial soul stage. Gong Shi speculated. They could now confirm that Jiang Xi was definitely from some ancient immortal Tao family. Otherwise, he would not act like this. This was because the disciples of immortal Tao sects were usually very competitive, and did not have much capital to act so recklessly and run amok. Sigh, people really can't be compared. If you have a good life, everything is good. Shinwansi sighed. He remembered the scene when Jiang Xi sent him a message this morning. According to Jiang Xi, he just wanted to watch the show, so he took out a place of inheritance of the primordial soul stage that he knew of to play. Damn, I just want to watch the show. Jiangge is not kind. It's good to let me go in first to explore. Letting it out as an amusement park is extravagant, Wasteful and wasteful. Shenwansi grumbled in his heart. He did not join in the fun. One was that he was not strong enough. He was a merchant who was not good at fighting and only liked money. The second was that Jiang Xi told him not to go. Who was Jiang Ge? Of course, he had to listen to Jiang Ge. Moreover, he was indeed afraid of death, so he did not join in the fun. He could imagine that when the time came, the sky would be dark and the ground would be dark. Even the ashes of the dead would not be found. There was only one interstellar teleportation array on Murong planet. The dozen or so guards were all from the Qiao family. The captain of the guards, Qiao Shu, was a late-stage golden core cultivator Buzz. The interstellar teleportation array lit up. Qiao Shu immediately became vigilant and led the guards to surround the teleportation array. Aside from the Qiao family, the native cultivators of Murong planet rarely had the opportunity to leave this planet. There were also very few foreign cultivators who came from outside. Most of them were the guards of the Tao Alliance's Heavenly Court office on Murong planet. Therefore, this interstellar teleportation array would not light up even once in 10 years. Now, in a short 1.5 months, it had lit up twice. It was somewhat strange. Soon, the light dissipated, and 10 figures appeared in the teleportation array. "Who's there?" The captain of the guards, Qiao Shu, shouted. "Scram!" A cold shout, accompanied by a powerful aura, directly sent the entire group of guards flying. The first to arrive was the Tsengian sect's training team. Their leader was the cold-faced youth, the Tsengian sect's nascent soul genius, Feng Si. Chapter 262. The news first spread on planet Sanglan, so the Tsengian sect that ruled planet Sanglan had a huge advantage. Feng Si knew the importance of being one step ahead, so he didn't waste time with the guards. He led the training team and flew away. He only sent the guards flying, but he didn't really attack. After all, they were outsiders and couldn't afford to offend the local cultivators of this Grade 4 planet. Because they came in a hurry, they only had a rough understanding of planet Murong and knew that it was an extremely isolated planet. There were many things they had to be careful about. The captain of the guards, Qiao Shu, saw 4 nascent soul cultivators and 6 late-stage golden core cultivators like him. He knew that something bad was about to happen and immediately sent a message to the upper echelons of his family in fear. However, just as he finished sending the message, the interstellar transportation array next to him lit up again. In a flash of light, hundreds of figures were transported over at the same time. There were even nascent soul and golden core cultivators. This time, Qiao Shu didn't even dare to stop them. "Four Symbol Sect!" His expression was aghast and terrified. Moreover, his current fear was 100 times stronger than before. Four Symbol Sect was the strongest immortal sect that ruled the entire Minglan star region. Even planet Murong had to obey Four Symbol Sect's orders to a certain extent. If planet Murong was still ruled by the Wind Clan, it might have been harder in front of Four Symbol Sect. Now, it couldn't be done at all. "What's going on?" Qiao Shu only felt his throat dry up. This was a physiological situation that had never happened to him since he became a cultivator. However, before it was over, the interstellar transportation array lit up again. More people were being transported over. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Qiao Shu was numb. The interstellar transportation array seemed to have turned into a flashing light, activating once every 3 to 5 breaths. In a short 15 minutes, more than 10,000 cultivators were transported over. The world is going to change. Qiao Shu was already paralyzed on the ground. He didn't even know how to report this to the upper echelons of his family. At the same time, in the sky above Blue Smoke Lake outside Xianyang City, Qiao Xian, the head of the Qiao clan, sat cross-legged in the air, quietly guarding. Yesterday, he had intimidated and cleared out all the cultivators within a radius of 300 miles. This move ensured that they had firm control over Qianyang Grotto Heaven and nothing unexpected would happen. Looking at the situation, today or tomorrow, Qianyang Grotto Heaven will be completely unsealed. The legacy of the Wind Clan, the Tao of Fire. If I can comprehend a little of it, I will have a chance to cultivate the immortal soul directly. Xiao Xian's eyes glistened with anticipation. After the Wen clan was exterminated, the ancestral land of the Wen clan, the Qianyang Grotto, disappeared. Even the first ancestor of the Qiao family, Qiao Changxing, who was Wen Yan's Taoist apprentice, did not know where the entrance to the Qianyang cave heaven was. After all, it was a grotto heaven mystic realm created by Taoist Ge and Wen Yan, two Tao integration stage powerhouses. Even primordial soul stage experts would have a hard time finding them. If it wasn't for the external seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven unsealing itself, they probably wouldn't have been able to discover this entrance. While waiting, Xiao Xian was also concerned about another matter. He looked to the side and saw a young man who looked somewhat similar to him. That young man also had fiery red eyebrows. His eyes were like stars, and his face was chiseled. He was extremely handsome. His cultivation was also very strong. The aura he exuded was that of a mid-stage nascent soul. "Swayer, have you found where Xiaomi and the others died?" Xiao Xian asked. The young man was his son, Xiao Sui, the successor of the Qiao family head. Xiao Sui frowned. "We've already searched for more than 10 days. I don't think we can find them." Some time ago, he had sent his guard, Xiao Mi, and more than 50 golden core cultivators to track down the remaining members of the Wen clan. Unexpectedly, after Xiaomi sent a message saying that he was going to exterminate the remaining members of the Wen clan, he lost contact with him. Then, he discovered that the life slips of Xiaomi and the others had shattered. Xiao Sui also knew that since the other party could easily kill Xiaomi and more than 50 golden core cultivators, it would be easy for them to destroy the corpses. It would be very difficult to find the place where Xiaomi and the others died. Unless one had the ability to deduce the location of a dead person without using a corpse, one would not be able to do so. "What about the outsider who was looking for the Wen clan?" Xiao Xian asked again. They had found the traces of the remaining members of the Wen clan through that outsider. "His whereabouts are unknown. According to the message Xiaomi sent when he was alive, that dark net hunting chief called Old Bao should be the remaining member of the Wen clan. Unfortunately, he also disappeared." Xiao Sui shook his head. "Humph, he does have some tricks up his sleeve. Continue tracking? The interstellar transportation array is in our hands. They won't be able to escape from Murong planet. It's been more than 6,000 years. I have a feeling that this unknown outsider can help us exterminate the Wen clan bloodline." Xiao Xian sneered. "Father, you're right." Xiao Sui didn't finish his sentence. At that moment, Xiao Xian's communication bead lit up. The person who had sent him a message was a nascent soul elder who was in charge of guarding the clan. The Qiao clan hadn't mobilized all of its forces, so there had to be someone guarding the clan. "What?" Xiao Xian's expression changed slightly after he checked the content of the message with his spiritual sense. 10 foreign cultivators had forced their way into Murong planet? 4 of them were at the nascent soul stage and 6 were at the late golden core stage. Why are there so many foreign cultivators? Xiao Xian had a bad feeling about this. Ever since the Qiao clan had taken complete control of this planet, 1 or 2 foreign cultivators would occasionally come. However, they had a strategy to deal with this. For example, they had sent many people to secretly monitor the foreign cultivator from before. If something went wrong, they would kill the foreign cultivator. It had been a long time since a situation like this where 10 foreign cultivators appeared at the same time had happened. In just a few seconds, his communication bead lit up again. Another 100 have come! Xiao Xian's expression changed drastically. This is bad. Then, his communication bead continued to light up. Father, what's wrong? Xiao Sui asked, puzzled. This is bad. More than 10,000 foreign cultivators have forced their way into Murong planet. There are nascent soul and golden core stage cultivators among them. What? Not only Xiao Sui, but the other 4 nascent soul stage cultivators of the Qiao clan were also shocked. Father, should we ask the patriarch to come out? Xiao Sui couldn't help but ask. The patriarch is in seclusion. Unless it's a matter of life and death for the clan, we can't awaken him. Xiao Xian shook his head decisively. Then, he let out a long sigh and said with a complicated expression, "Release the restriction on Blue Smoke Lake. This is no longer a place that the Chiao clan can monopolize. With so many foreign cultivators here, if they continued to guard the entrance of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, something big would definitely happen." "Father, are we giving up just like that?" Chiao Sui was unwilling to give up. The seal was about to be completely released. How can we give up? We're retreating in order to advance. No one knows Qianyang Grotto Heaven better than the Chiao clan. Even if we take advantage of the chaos, we'll still have a chance to obtain the Wen clan's inheritance. Xiao Xian's expression was gloomy. The Wen clan's Dao integration stage patriarch, Wen Yan, had strictly controlled the news of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. However, the Chiao clan's first-generation patriarch, Qiao Changxing, had collected a lot of useful information when he was Wen Yan's Dao attendant. This was the Chiao clan's current advantage. The only thing that puzzled Xiao Xian was how news of Qianyang Grotto Heaven had spread to Murong planet. "Is it that foreign cultivator from before?" Xiao Xian quickly connected the dots. Damn it! This was the only possibility. Chapter 263. Whoosh! 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 After leaving the galaxy teleportation array, figures flew toward Qianyang City one after another without hiding their powerful auras. The ordinary people in China and the surrounding countries were shocked by this scene. Many people who believed in myths and legends even knelt down. Immortals descending to the mortal world. Gods descending to the mortal world. This day became the famous day of descent in the history of Murong planet. Jiang Xi stood in the attic of the dark house and looked at the figures flying over from the sky with a bright smile. "Very good, it's going to be chaotic just like this." What was this called? Chaos in the world. The Chiao family's domineering and tough attitude forced him to do this. Since the cultivators on Murong planet were scared of the Chiao family, then he would attract the cultivators outside. The universe was so big. Was there a lack of bold people? What made Jiang Xi relieved was that Shenwansi was very reliable and did not exaggerate what he said. The news that was spread was strictly according to his request, and only said that there was an Essence Soul legacy here. "I'm much more relieved that there's no Essence Soul." Of course, he was not stupid enough to tell the actual situation of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. If people knew that this was a legacy left behind by a Dao integration mighty figure, then it would definitely attract many Essence Soul cultivators. At that time, he, who only had late-stage nascent soul combat power, could only silently withdraw from the game. He looked at the experience points interface. Cultivation, Golden Core, late stage 3975003975000, Dao Gale Domain, 5000/50000000, Sword Intent, 1000/1000000, Amplitude, 100 Deduction, 10,000 experience points per time. Cultivation Technique. Purple Cloud Sword Sutra, Peacock Visualization Experience Points, 91,190. A complete Gale Domain with 100 times of spiritual power amplitude. Even if I meet a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, I can still fight. Jiang Xi was full of confidence ever since he discovered the accident in Qianyang Grotto Heaven and the Chiao family's various overbearing and tough methods. He began to focus on increasing his Gale Domain experience points. He ate a 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit almost every 3 days. After the battle in the mountains last time, he almost had a complete Gale Domain. But I'm still far from the level of invincible nascent soul. Jiang Xi shook his head again. It was not time to be complacent. He had the complete Gale Domain. However, an invincible nascent soul expert also had a complete Dao Domain. Furthermore, he was invincible in the original infant stage and possessed the cultivation of the full foundation of the original infant stage. He was only at the full foundation of the Golden Core stage and was still far from it. It's a pity that the success rate of deducing Sword True Intent is too low. If I could deduce Sword Domain, then my chances would be much higher. Jiang Xi was somewhat helpless. He still maintained the frequency of 10 deductions a day. From the time he left Earth until now, he had already used up a total of 4 million experience points to deduce the sword intent. The success rate of deduction was said to be related to the grade and completeness of the Tao technique. Actually, to a certain extent, it still depended on one's looks. Soon, more than 20,000 foreign cultivators had gathered in Ganyang City. This was because the external seal of Qianyang Grotto Heaven had yet to be completely unsealed. Those powerful figures stood in the air, densely surrounding the entrance of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, Blue Smoke Lake. Such a huge formation alarmed the entire cultivation world of Murong Planet. Because of the Qiao family's control and the lack of information, the cultivation world of Murong Planet, other than the Qiao family and the Tao Alliance's heavenly court personnel and some nascent soul cultivators. The rest of the cultivators did not know that there were other planets with life in the universe. Where did these cultivators come from? Could there really be extraterrestrial life? For a moment, all kinds of guesses were made. The Wen siblings, Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng, were also completely stunned by this scene. Martial Granduncle? This is the extraterrestrial you were talking about? Wen Yoxin's eyes widened. So powerful, there must be more than 100 nascent soul cultivators, right? Wen Feng held his breath. The Wen family's genealogy jade slip had records of other planets with life, but the siblings had never seen any other extraterrestrials other than Jiang Xi. More than 100? After a rough look, there should be more than 600 nascent soul cultivators, and the rest are all golden core cultivators, Jiang Xi said calmly. More than 600! The Wen siblings' breath stagnated. In fact, Jiang Xi was also secretly speechless. There seemed to be a little too many people, and the game was a little too big. At this moment, he saw Feng Xi's figure. This genius of the Tsingyan sect was standing together with a few other nascent soul cultivators and talking about something. These people were the best of the best in the army of cultivators that filled the sky. Come, let's go over too. Jiang Xi smiled. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng also smiled and hurriedly followed this martial granduncle out of the city. More than half of the Qiao family cultivators around the Blue Smoke Lake had already evacuated, leaving only Qiao Xian and a few other powerful cultivators. The three of them could swagger within a 300-mile radius of the Blue Smoke Lake. The Wen siblings sighed in their hearts. Their martial granduncle was still the best. They knew that this grand scene was created by this martial granduncle in front of them. Under such circumstances, Jiang Xi did not hide the power of his domain. The Gale domain was constantly scattered around him, protecting the Wen siblings at the same time. He was wearing the impersonator's mask and was not afraid of being remembered. After all, he did not want his face anymore. Therefore, no one dared to stop him as he passed through the cultivators that filled the sky. Tao domain. Among the 20,000-plus foreign cultivators, few of them possessed Tao domains. Even among the 600-plus nascent soul cultivators, there were only a few who possessed one. Furthermore, Jiang Xi's cultivation was only at the late-stage golden core realm. This made him even more worthy of attention in everyone's eyes. Jiang Xi maintained an indifferent expression as he led the Wen siblings to a location near the Tsingyan sect's Feng Xi. From here, he could clearly hear the conversation between Feng Xi and the others. Jiang Xi's first impression of Feng Xi was that he was a cold and callous person. However, at this moment, Feng Xi had a warm smile on his face as he chatted cheerfully with two other young-looking mid-stage nascent soul cultivators. Feng Xi said, "Qing Yuqing, you are from the Four Symbols sect and know more about the situation on the Murong planet than we do. Why don't you introduce us and play host?" Four Symbols sect? Jiang Xi's heart skipped a beat as he took a second look at the valiant-looking young man. Before he came to the Murong planet, he had learned about the Four Symbols sect. It was an immortal sect that ruled over the Minglan Star region. It was similar to the Tsengyan sect and was very powerful. Jing Yuqing had a valiant appearance and spoke in a low, muffled voice. In response to Feng Xi's question, he only snorted coldly. "Why should I? Feng Xi, why don't you find out who controls this planet instead of asking Jing Yuqing for help?" Reveal your identity, and I'm sure they won't dare to keep quiet. Another late-stage nascent soul cultivator with 2 sabers on his back joked. This person's name was Fu Zai, a famous starry sky wanderer in the Kanglan Star region. Although he was an itinerant cultivator, no one dared to underestimate him. Chapter 264. That's a good idea. However, this Grotto Heaven secret realm will be unsealed at any time. I won't leave. Fengxi smiled, but he was wary of Fu Zai. He knew that this starry sky hunter was famous for his cunning. It's best if you don't go. Before I left the sect master sent me a message telling me not to provoke the ruling family of this planet. Jing Yuqing sneered. The ruling family of a 4th-class planet probably has nascent soul cultivators at most. Why is the 4-symbol sect so afraid? Fu Zai was surprised. This planet isn't private territory, but as you can see, the situation here isn't much different from private territory. Moreover, this situation has been going on for thousands of years. Jing Yuqing's expression was solemn, and he didn't overdo it. Fengxi and Fu Zai were shocked. Under normal circumstances, the Heavenly Court of the Tao Alliance wouldn't interfere with the management of private territories. The Heavenly Court of the Tao Alliance would set up corresponding resident offices for those planets that weren't private territories. To a certain extent, they were used to monitor the actions of the planet's rulers. For example, the ruler of Murong Planet dared to turn a planet belonging to the Tao Alliance into a private territory. This was akin to stealing from the Tao Alliance. It was considered corruption, and the Heavenly Court of the Tao Alliance would definitely investigate. However, this situation had been going on for thousands of years, and no one from the Tao Alliance had come to deal with it. There was only one possibility: the ruler of this planet had someone above him. Even the 4-symbol sect, which ruled over the Minglan Star region, was wary of this person. This person could only be from the 9 great immortal Tao sects of the Tao Alliance. And this was the Zixia region. The Zixia sect! Fengxi and Fu Zai uttered these 3 words in shock, and their hearts were in turmoil. They were both experienced and knowledgeable people. Of course, they knew that this was a true colossus in the universe. Not far away, the Wen siblings turned their shocked gazes to Jiang Xi. They knew that Taoist Ge was from the Zixia sect. Jiang Xi shook his head slightly, telling them not to make a fuss. His heart was filled with helplessness. Master had really screwed him over. Taoist Ge had spared no effort in protecting the Wen clan, but it was wiped out in less than half a day after his death. The clan that wiped out the Wen clan, on the other hand, controlled the planet that the Wen clan had originally ruled. Even the Tao Alliance was willing to turn a blind eye to it. It was hard not to think of something. It was obvious that the Purple Heaven sect was not united. Taoist Ge also had opponents in the sect. What made Jiang Xi helpless was that his master, Taoist Ge, had given him another task. He wanted him to return the Purple Cloud sect's important inheritance, the Purple Cloud Sword Scripture, to the Purple Cloud sect within 100 years. Judging from the situation, by the time he sent it over, it would probably turn into a box. How could the opponents of a Tao integration stage super mighty figure be ordinary? Jiang Xi was worried, but he still had to focus on the matter at hand. At this moment, the cultivators who had rushed over from various vital planets were all waiting for the opening of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Until now, they still did not know that this was a Grotto Heaven mystic realm created by 2 Tao integration powerhouses. They all thought that it was the inheritance of a primordial soul stage expert. Even Jing Yuqing, the nascent soul genius of the 4-symbol sect, did not know this. That was because the Murong planet was too closed off. In the 6,000 years that the Qiao family had ruled, almost no internal news of the Murong planet had leaked out. Time passed. To cultivators with long lifespans, a day's time was extremely short. Soon night fell. The fog that shrouded the blue smoke lake became thicker and thicker. The spiritual aura that permeated the world became more intense. The surrounding temperature also became hotter. "It's opening!" It was unknown who shouted in surprise. The thick fog suddenly churned violently. It then spread out instantly, covering a radius of 300 miles. The thick fog contained a powerful force that engulfed more than 20,000 cultivators. There was no reaction at all. Even nascent soul stage cultivators could not resist it. This is not the technique of a primordial soul stage cultivator. Tao integration. This is a grotto heaven mystic realm created by a Tao integration stage super mighty figure. Feng Si, Fu Zai, and Jing Yuqing, the three elites in the army of cultivators, were shocked by this force the next moment. The world spun and everyone entered Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Qianyang Grotto Heaven was very large. At least, after Jiang Xi teleported in, he did not see anyone other than the Wen clan siblings whom he protected with his domain power. Looking around, one could see that this was a world that resembled a purgatory of fire. In the sky, fiery red clouds looked like they were about to rain fire. On the ground, volcanoes were emitting black smoke and spewing scorching hot lava. Rivers of lava flowed between these volcanoes. This scene is exactly the same as what was recorded in the clan's jade slip. When Yoshin exclaimed in surprise. The siblings were also observing their surroundings. Looking at the terrain, we should be in the southern region of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. The ancestral land of our Wen clan should be in the central region, Wen Feng said. He was a headhunter who was good at gathering information and had a good grasp of the map. Jiang Xi nodded lightly when he heard this. Taoist Ji's inherited memories also recorded the terrain of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. The division of the terrain here was very simple. Generally speaking, it was divided into 4 regions: east, west, north, and south. In addition to the central region, there were a total of 5 regions. Among them, there was an inheritance altar in the central region, which was where the ancestral land of the Wen clan was located. Taoist Ge had set up the blood prohibition trigram fire formation there, and sealed the baleful yang power there. Just as he was thinking, the roars of beasts suddenly came from the volcanoes in the distance. There's movement! Jiang Xi immediately became vigilant. His spiritual sense and domain power had been spreading out to observe the surrounding environment. He was one step ahead of the Wen clan siblings to discover the abnormal situation in the distance. In the next moment, dozens of fire lions covered in flames ran out of the volcanoes and rushed over aggressively. It's a golden core fire spirit! Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. These fire lions were not of the demon clan, but fire spirits condensed from flames. Let's end this quickly! Jiang Xi shouted in a low voice and instantly sped up to meet the fire lions. The Wen clan siblings followed closely behind and attacked one after another. Jiang Xi's gale domain was always open. The gales swept in all directions like blades. After those fire lions entered the gale domain, they were suppressed by the domain power, and their speed dropped sharply. A golden core fire spirit, even a late-stage golden core fire spirit, was no match for him. The refined upper-grade spiritual weapon, slaughtering shadow sword, scattered sword light and fell on those ferocious fire lions. Instant kill. The fire lions that had been killed in an instant were like extinguished flames. With a puff, they suddenly dissipated. Then, pieces of fiery red crystals the size of fingernails scattered on the ground. Chapter 265. You killed an early-stage golden core fire spirit. Experience points plus 1000. You killed an early-stage golden core fire spirit. Experience points plus 1250. You killed an late-stage golden core fire spirit. Experience points plus 1500. A series of notifications sounded from the panel. Dozens of fire lions were killed by Jiang Xi in the blink of an eye. The Wen siblings were shocked again and smiled bitterly at the same time. They had just drawn their swords and the battle was over. Jiang Xi's attention was not on the experience points gained. His gaze was attracted by the fiery red crystals. These are leaving fire Tao crystals? Wen Yoshin asked in surprise. That's right! Jiang Xi chuckled. He waved his hand and activated the domain power to collect the Tao crystals on the ground. Then, he divided them into 3 equal portions. He kept one for himself and gave the rest to the Wen siblings. Thank you, Uncle Granduncle! The siblings hurriedly thanked him. Jiang Xi smiled. The Tao crystals contained a trace of the Tao of heaven and earth and were very valuable. Especially here, they were even more useful. His master, Taoist Ge, had set up the blood restriction fire formation at the Wen family's inheritance altar in the core area of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Then, the Wen family's ancestor, Wen Yen, used this formation as the core and integrated his leaving fire Tao into the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven. As a result, the blood restriction fire formation became even more dangerous. Tao Technique Realm, Tao Intent, Tao Domain, and Tao of Heaven and Earth. A Tao integration expert at least had a complete Tao of Heaven and Earth, and was extremely powerful. According to Master's inherited memories, when Uncle Master Wen Yen separated a wisp of his leaving fire Tao and integrated it into the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven, the Tao transformed into thousands of things and gave birth to the magical fire spirit. Therefore, the leaving fire Tao crystals formed after the fire spirit's death contain a trace of the leaving fire Tao. Only through these leaving fire Tao crystals can the power of the blood restriction fire formation be resisted. It could be said that the leaving fire Tao crystals were indispensable to obtain the Wen family's inheritance. Therefore, the Wen siblings were naturally very grateful. "Let's go find other fire spirits," Jiang Xi said with a smile. The Wen siblings nodded vigorously. Then, the three of them entered the volcano group and began to hunt. If divided by numbers. This time, the Qiao family had the most cultivators entering the Qianyang cave. There were a total of 1,000 cultivators in the Golden Core stage and 6 in the Nascent Soul stage. After all, they were the rulers of this planet. The advantage of mobilizing people was something that the foreign cultivators could not compare to. At this moment, in the core area of Qianyang cave, a majestic circular sacrificial altar stood in the middle of the blood-forbidden fire formation that was like a sea of fire. The Qiao family's 1,006 cultivators were standing at the edge of the sea of fire. Relying on their understanding of Qianyang Grotto Heaven, they were the first to arrive. Qiao Xian looked at the circular altar in the distance with some excitement in his heart. He was just one step away. According to the information left behind by the ancestor, at least 10,000 leaving fire Tao crystals are needed to enter the inheritance altar. Thinking of this, he turned to Qiao Sui and said, "Suier, I'll leave 200 people here to guard this place. You lead the others to hunt those fire spirits." "Father, don't worry, I will definitely gather enough Inferno Tao crystals. Help Father comprehend the Tao of Ignis," Qiao Sui said solemnly. Following which, he took away 3 nascent soul cultivators and 800 golden core cultivators and began to collect Tao crystals. Qiao Sui believed that with their strength, they could sweep through the entire Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Whether it was the fire spirits, or those foreign cultivators. Eastern Region. Feng Si led the Tsengyan sex training team and had just killed over 100 fire spirits in the form of vermilion birds. Looking at the fiery red crystals scattered all over the ground, Feng Si laughed loudly. "Haha, they are indeed Tao crystals. A Tao integration expert must have integrated his Tao of heaven and earth into this Grotto Heaven mystic realm to give birth to such mystical fire spirit creatures. Master once said that when a Tao integration expert leaves behind his legacy, he will use Tao crystals as a medium to allow future generations to comprehend his Tao of heaven and earth. There are countless Tao of heaven and earth, but I wonder what kind of Tao crystals contain. No matter what, let's collect. The more we collect, the better." When he felt that powerful force earlier, he knew that his previous information was wrong. This was a place of inheritance left behind by a Tao integration expert. After the shock, there was a pleasant surprise. Perhaps he could comprehend the Tao of heaven and earth left behind by this expert here. Although there were not many people in a team of 10, they were extremely powerful. 1 mid-stage nascent soul, 3 early-stage nascent soul, and 6 late-stage golden core. With such strength, they were definitely one of the top teams among the 20,000 cultivators. At the same time, in the Western region, the 4-symbol sex nascent soul genius, Xin Yuqing, was also ecstatic. "I've heard that Murong planet was once ruled by a Tao integration expert for nearly 10,000 years. Could this be the place of inheritance left behind by that Tao integration expert? According to the various Tao integration inheritances recorded in the sect, Tao crystals are a necessary item to obtain Tao integration inheritances. The more we collect, the better. Genius disciples like them who came from large immortal sects had a far better understanding of the Tao integration stage than ordinary cultivators. He immediately led more than 100 of his fellow disciples to start collecting. In addition, there was also the famous starry sky wanderer Fuji in the pale blue star region. This late-stage nascent soul cultivator who had explored many dangerous places in the pale blue star region had obtained some inheritances regarding the Tao integration stage. Of course, he also knew about Tao crystals. After killing a few fire spirits, he was ecstatic. Moreover, his desire for Tao crystals was much stronger than Feng Si and Jin Yuqing. This was because he was already at the late-stage nascent soul stage, and had comprehended 70% of his Tao domain. If I have enough Tao crystals to comprehend the Tao of heaven and earth of this Tao integration expert, and comprehend it by analogy, I might have a chance to achieve perfection in my Tao domain. When that happens, I'll be invincible among nascent soul cultivators. I might even have a chance to reach the nascent soul stage. Those ordinary cultivators did not know what Tao crystals were, nor did they know the specific situation of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. However, this did not stop them from fighting those fire spirits. This was because if they did not kill the fire spirits would kill them. The fire spirits of Qianyang Grotto Heaven had very low intelligence. They only had a simple will to kill. When they saw cultivators, they would pounce on them without a word. The fire spirit's cultivation was at least at the early stage golden core stage. Therefore, most cultivators could easily take care of one fire spirit. However, fire spirits basically appeared in groups. Being able to take care of one did not mean that they could take care of dozens or hundreds of them. Not to mention, there would occasionally be stronger nascent soul fire spirits appearing. Very soon, many cultivators lost their lives because of this. These people held on to hope and tightened their belts. They gathered 10,000 inferior-grade spirit crystals for the teleportation fee and came to Murong planet to compete for the so-called nascent soul stage inheritance. As the saying went, expectations were always beautiful, but reality was often cruel. He had just started, and he was already dead. After being killed by the fire spirits, they turned into ashes. Even his ashes couldn't be found. Chapter 266. There were many fire lions and fire spirits hidden in the volcanoes in the southern region of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. They spat out flames and each attack carried some Tao rhymes of the Tao of heaven and earth. If not for the Gale domain, Jiang Xi would not have been able to kill hundreds of fire lions as easily as he did now. The power of the domain could not only increase his attack power but also restrict the fire lion's movements. With this, Jiang Xi could easily kill the fire lions. As for the Wind Clan siblings, they were picking up scraps by Jiang Xi's side, helping him hunt down those fire lions that had escaped the net. If I want to refine more baleful yang energy at the inheritance altar, I must have enough Tao crystal. Jiang Xi thought about this as he brandished his sword to kill the fire lion. Whether it was the Wind Clan's inheritance that the Wind siblings wanted or the yang energy that he wanted, they were all in the inheritance altar in the core region of Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Roar! A mid-nascent soul stage fire lion rushed out from the fire lions in front of him. Jiang Xi was not afraid at all. With his current strength, he could easily crush a mid-nascent soul stage opponent. Moreover, he had completely refined the superior-grade spiritual artifact, Killer Shadow Sword. The power of the Gale domain, and the increase in attack power of the sword intent could be perfectly displayed through this spiritual artifact. Kill! Jiang Xi's figure flashed and appeared in front of the mid-nascent soul stage fire lion. The sword shadow trembled and the powerful attack directly smashed the lion's head. A strong wind blew, and the flame lion, which was at the mid-nascent soul stage, disappeared into thin air. It turned into a pile of Tao crystals and scattered on the ground. At the same time, Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng were also hunting the golden core stage fire lions. The siblings' strength was honed while they were on the run. Their actual combat strength was much stronger than ordinary golden core stage cultivators, and it was more than enough to deal with these fire lions. Soon, the group of fire lions that numbered more than 200 were all killed by the three of them. After collecting the Tao crystals on the ground, Wen Yoshin said in surprise, "Martial Granduncle, we have more than 10,000 Tao crystals." When Foam was also surprised and overjoyed, Jiang Xi took 80% of the Tao crystal from the hunt, and the two of them split the remaining 20% equally, so he also had 10,000. "Not enough, it's still early." Jiang Xi shook his head calmly. The siblings were startled for a moment, then reacted. There were indeed records in their clan records. As long as they gathered 10,000 myriad Tao crystals, they could go to the inheritance altar to obtain the inheritance. However, 10,000 myriad Tao crystals was only the lowest standard, and the chances of obtaining the inheritance in the end were very small. If he wanted to truly obtain the inheritance, naturally, the more Tao crystals he had, the better. Because the more Tao crystals there were, the longer one could last on the altar. The siblings looked at each other excitedly. In the past, when the Wen clan was at its peak, the clansmen who entered the Qianyang grotto to receive the inheritance had to rely on their own abilities to obtain the Tao crystal. Many of the weaker clansmen did not even have the chance to enter the inheritance altar because they could not gather 10,000 myriad Tao crystals. Therefore, most of the Wen clan clansmen would choose to go to the altar to receive the inheritance, as long as they reached the lowest standard when collecting Tao crystals. And now, they were following this powerful martial granduncle and could easily kill these powerful fire spirits. Even if Jiang Xi only gave them 10% of the Tao crystals he hunted, the amount was still considerable, far surpassing the harvest of the clansmen who hunted alone. This way, they would be able to gather even more Tao crystals and then go to the altar. That way, the inheritance would naturally be stable. Jiang Xi chuckled. He already had 80,000 Tao crystals in his hands, but it was still far from enough. His main goal was to refine the baleful yang energy in the altar, not the Wen clan's inheritance. At that time, if he didn't have enough Tao crystals, he wouldn't be able to refine much of the baleful yang energy. That would be tragic. Of course, it wasn't only because of the Tao crystals. In addition, the experience points provided by these fire spirits were also very considerable. The lowest level of the gold core stage was 1,000 experience points. In less than 2 hours, he had already obtained nearly 10 million experience points. On Earth, the number of monsters that could be hunted for a day was only this many. Experience points, 10,030. His experience points balance had also returned to the 100 million level. Next, Jiang Xi spread out his spirit sense again, taking the initiative to search for the fire lions hiding in the volcanoes. Under his lead, they had already hunted more than 50 fire lions. The small group of fire lions only had a dozen or so fire lions. The large group had close to 300 fire lions. Of course, there were also larger groups. However, Jiang Xi took a detour. With his current strength, it was still a bit difficult for him to deal with more than 300 gold core stage fire lions at the same time. Soon, Jiang Xi's spirit sense found a group of sleeping fire lions beside a magma river. There were only 200 of them, and the strongest one was at the late stage of the gold core stage, which was very suitable for hunting. The approach of Jiang Xi and the other two startled the group of fire lions. They immediately roared and rushed over, their ferocity overflowing. The two sides instantly engaged in battle. Jiang Xi's Gale domain was simply a killing weapon of the same level. After the gold core stage fire lions entered the Gale domain, they were restricted. Not long after, the group of fire lions were all killed by them, turning into a pile of fiery red Tao crystals. Jiang Xi activated the power of the domain and collected the Tao crystals. After counting, there were a total of 1,352 Tao crystals. After killing so many fire lions, Jiang Xi had already concluded a pattern. Each gold core stage fire spirit could provide 3 to 10 Tao crystals. He wasn't sure about the nascent soul stage, because so far, including the one he killed just now, he had only killed 2 nascent soul stage fire spirits, and his harvest was close to 1,000 Tao crystals. What was certain was that the higher the cultivation level of the fire spirit, the more Tao crystals it would provide. Seeing so many Tao crystals, the smiles on Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng's faces never stopped. If they followed Uncle Granduncle, they would have meat to eat. At this moment, Jiang Xi's expression changed slightly, and he raised his hand to stop the siblings from speaking. He only heard the sound of air being torn apart in the distance. Hundreds of powerful figures were approaching the group of volcanoes at an extremely fast speed. It was the young master of the Qiao family, Qiao Sui, and the team of Qiao family cultivators he led. 4 nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 gold core stage cultivators. Run! Jiang Xi didn't even think about it. The Gale domain instantly spread out, enveloping the Wen siblings, and sped towards the depths of the volcanoes. Behind them, Qiao Sui's eyes narrowed slightly when he saw this scene. Dao domain! Chase after them! This kind of powerhouse can easily kill those fire spirits. They must have a lot of Tao crystals on them. Instantly, more than 800 people whistled and chased after them. In these 2 hours, they had relied on their numbers to kill many non-Qiao family cultivators and obtained many Tao crystals. This is the young master of the Murong planet's Qiao family. If you offer up your Tao crystals, we can spare your lives. A middle-aged man in the early nascent soul stage also shouted. Jiang Xi and the other 2 naturally wouldn't care about such low-level threats. Although they had enmity with the Qiao family, there was no way they could fight with Qiao Sui with so many people. Chapter 267. When enemies met, their eyes would turn red. However, the timing was also important. It wasn't as if one had to fight the moment he saw his enemy. In such a situation, the Wen siblings gritted their teeth and suppressed the indignation and anger in their hearts as they followed riverward and flew at top speed. Qiao family! Jiang Xi's face darkened. He didn't relax at all as he pushed his speed to the limit. 800 golden core cultivators and 4 nascent soul cultivators. This kind of overall strength wasn't something he could deal with now. If he were to fight them head-on, he reckoned that a joint attack would be enough to seriously injure him. As for the Wen siblings, they might just be gone. Therefore, he had to escape. Qiao Sui also knew that it was useless to threaten them with simple words. He now had the mentality of a hunter. There were only 3 golden core cultivators, even if one of them had a Tao domain. There was no need for the 4 nascent soul cultivators to make a move. A joint attack from 800 golden core cultivators was enough to turn the 3 prey into ashes. However, even a lion would use all its strength to hunt a rabbit. Qiao Sui certainly understood this. He smiled confidently and said, "Let's go all out." 800 golden core cultivators attacked at the same time. Qiao Sui and the other 3 nascent soul cultivators also used their strongest attacks. Instantly, powerful saber lights, sword shadows, flames, and cold light accompanied by a storm of energy covered the sky as they attacked Riverward and the other 2. Oh no! Jiang Xi's expression changed. Not only were their golden core cultivators attacking together, but there was also a blazing domain power that covered over and interfered with his Gale domain. It slowed down his speed a little. It was the young master of the Qiao family, Qiao Sui. He also had a Tao domain. We have to block it. If not, we'll be in danger. Although Jiang Xi was anxious, he still made a calm judgment. Boom! 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 The roaring sound of energy approached and was about to hit the area covered by the Gale domain. Shield! At the critical moment, Jiang Xi directly condensed the domain power. The Gale domain was like a shield, enveloping the 3 of them. The complete Gale domain formed a protective shield that was close to the invincible state of the nascent soul cultivators. This was his strongest defensive move. Woo! The violent collision produced a strong shock wave. Strong winds blew, mixing with the flames of the Qianyang heavenly abode and sweeping across the sky. On the other hand, Jiang Xi felt as if he had been hammered tens of thousands of times, and his entire body was about to fall apart. Damn it! Jiang Xi roared as he endured the pain. In an instant, he spread out the Gale domain. The wind whistled as the three of them used the shockwave produced by the joint attack to flee once again. His speed was even faster than before. This is a complete Dao domain! What a terrifying talent! Xiao Sui was shocked. He had cultivated for more than 700 years and had only cultivated the blazing flame domain to 40% completion, which was still far from perfection. The late-stage golden core cultivator in front of him actually possessed a complete Dao domain. Even in the entire Murong planet, such a level of comprehension might not even appear once in 10,000 years. They must be unparalleled geniuses from other advanced life planets. Such geniuses might have powerful magical equipment, such as ultra-quality spiritual weapons. Go after them and kill them! Xiao Sui's eyes were burning with passion. Boom! 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 4 nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators continuously attacked the 3 people in front of them. Even a nascent soul stage cultivator might not be able to withstand the surging energy. Jiangxi relied on the protective shield formed by the Gale domain to block the attacks time and time again. In addition, the Gale domain increased his speed. Even with the Wind siblings, his speed was not inferior to a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator. The strongest Xiao family cultivator behind him was only Xiao Sui, who was in the mid-stage nascent soul stage. Soon, the 3 of them disappeared from the group of volcanoes. I'm so angry! Xiao Sui watched as the 3 of them disappeared, leaving only the erupting volcanoes on the ground. He angrily struck out with his palm and smashed dozens of volcanoes into smithereens. The magma that flowed out formed a magma lake on the ground. 4 nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators had actually allowed 3 golden core stage cultivators to escape. No one would believe it if they heard about it. They will definitely go to the inheritance altar in the core area. I have to ask Father to be careful. Xiao Sui hurriedly sent a message to his father, Xiao Xian. Once the 3 of them were discovered, they were to be killed immediately. In his opinion, a late-stage golden core stage cultivator with a complete Dao domain, such a genius, must have treasures on him. Riverward took the Wind siblings and flew away from the group of volcanoes. They flew for another 1,000 miles before coming to a stop. They had completely shaken off their pursuers. In front of them was a dense forest of fire trees. The 3 of them immediately hid in the forest and rested for the time being. Martial Granduncle! When Yoshin and Wen Feng looked at Jiangxi worriedly. Jiangxi's face was pale. Although he had used the Gale domain to block so many attacks, his body was still severely injured. His entire body looked like it was about to split open. Clear cracks had appeared, and even his bones could be seen. He reckoned that after a few more attacks, his body would completely split open. I'm fine! Jiangxi shook his head and endured the excruciating pain coming from all over his body. He took out a 1,000-year-old spiritual fruit and used the spiritual energy within to heal his injuries. 1,000-year-old spiritual fruit was clearly not enough. He ate a total of 3 before the terrifying cracks on his body completely disappeared. Then, he used his spiritual energy to carefully heal his injuries. He did not dare to use the 10,000-year-old spiritual fruit because his body was already on the verge of collapse. If he were to be struck by the immense spiritual energy, he would explode. There would be no room for negotiation. When the Wen siblings saw that Jiangxi had recovered from his injuries, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. The 2 of them looked at each other. They were still in shock. This martial granduncle was just too powerful. That was the combined attack of 4 nascent soul stage cultivators and 800 golden core stage cultivators. Furthermore, it was not just once. Even a late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator could have died in the group of volcanoes after facing so many combined attacks, right? Their martial granduncle's cultivation level was about the same as theirs, but his strength was so freakish. The 2 of them suppressed the shock in their hearts and did not speak. They quietly waited for Jiangxi to heal his injuries. After another quarter of an hour, Jiangxi's injuries were completely healed. He opened his eyes with a trace of relief. If it were not for the complete protective shield formed by the Gale domain, he would not have been able to withstand those powerful combined attacks. Also, the extreme speed when he escaped was also the embodiment of the Gale domain's speed. Fortunately, I improved the Gale domain to the perfect state. Otherwise, I would have died just now. Xiao family! Jiangxi's eyes were filled with murderous intent as a shocking chill erupted from his body. Even when he fought with Hu Yan on Earth, he did not suffer such serious injuries. Martial Granduncle, just bear with it for a while. Wen Yoxin smiled bitterly. Yes, Martial Granduncle. You will only have a chance to take revenge if you are alive. Wen Feng also advised. They were worried that this young Martial Granduncle would go after Qiao Sui in a rage. Of course, the two of them hated the Qiao family to the core. However, after so many years of escaping, they had learned to endure. Chapter 268. Jiangxi let out a long breath and regained his composure. He shook his head and said, It's fine, I know my limits. Let's continue hunting fire spirits. Seeing this, the Wen siblings finally relaxed. Subsequently, the three of them continued hunting fire spirits in this fire tree forest. There were quite a number of fire spirits in Qianyang Grotto Heaven. Other than the core region, there was a fire spirit tribe in each of the other 4 regions. The fire lion fire spirit that was hiding in the volcano group just now was the fire spirit. And in this fire tree forest lived a vermilion bird fire spirit. However, no matter what kind of fire spirit it was, most of them were at the golden core stage. Only a small number of them were at the nascent soul stage. With Jiangxi's strength, he could easily deal with them. The 3 of them crazily hunted and obtained Dao crystals in this fire tree forest. Occasionally, they would encounter other cultivators, but they were not bloodthirsty people. They did not pay attention to those who were fighting with the fire spirits, or were about to be killed by the fire spirits. Rather than wasting time on these ordinary cultivators, it was better to kill more fire spirits. That way, the speed of obtaining Dao crystals would be faster. As time passed, the 3 of them realized that the number of fire spirits was decreasing. They knew that the fire spirits here were about to be killed. It's about time. Let's go to the inheritance altar in the core region. Jiangxi kept the Dao crystals that he had just obtained from killing the fire spirits, and turned his gaze to the core region. Wen Yoxin and Wen Feng's eyes lit up, filled with excitement and anticipation. Because the 2 of them had more than 30,000 Dao crystals on them. This number, even during their Wen family's heyday, only the top golden core geniuses in the family could barely gather so many. Bringing so many Dao crystals to obtain the inheritance, the success rate was definitely very high. Jiangxi was also filled with anticipation. He had close to 250,000 Dao crystals on him. It was definitely stable. As for going so late, would the inheritance in the inheritance altar be obtained by someone else first? Jiangxi was not worried at all. Firstly, his main goal was the Yang energy and not the Wen family's inheritance. Secondly, the Wen family's inheritance was not so easy to obtain. If he did not have enough Dao crystals, it would be useless even if he went. He would not even be able to enter the inheritance altar. What if others also collected enough Dao crystals? Well, there was no what if. Did he really think that 2 Dao integration stage super mighty figures were useless? When Daoist Ge and Wen Yen built Qianyang Grotto Heaven, in order to prevent future accidents, they had already left a backup plan in the inheritance altar. The method of unsealing the seal that Wen Yoxin had been painstakingly searching for was one of the backup plans. The core area of Qianyang Grotto Heaven was not big. Apart from the inheritance altar surrounded by a sea of fire, there was nothing else. This sea of fire was the embodiment of the power of the blood-forbidden trigram fire array. If he did not have the energy of the Dao crystal to protect his body, he would have rashly entered the sea of fire of the blood-forbiddenly fire array. In an instant, it would be burned to ashes by the Dao of fire. Qiao Xian had long since memorized these precautions. He waited for Qiao Sui to send over the collected Dao crystals. At the same time, he brought along 2 nascent soul stage cultivators and 200 Aurus core stage cultivators to guard the entire blood-forbidden trigram fire formation and forbade outsiders from entering. 3 foreign cultivators with ordinary looks? Qiao Xian pondered over his son Qiao Sui's message, and the images of the 3 foreign cultivators surfaced in his mind. Sui has 3 other nascent soul stage experts and 800 Aurus core stage cultivators with him. Even I would have to expend a lot of effort to block their combined attacks. A peerless genius from another advanced planet? He doesn't even have a Tao protector by his side, so he probably doesn't come from a powerful faction. Even if he dies in Qianyang Grotto Heaven, no one will pursue the matter. In terms of vision and knowledge, he clearly knew more than his son. He had lived for more than 1,000 years, but he had only mastered 70% of the blazing fire domain. A peerless genius who could master a complete Tao domain at the late stage Aurus core stage would at least have a Tao protector with primordial soul stage battle prowess. If he didn't, it meant that he was just a talented and lucky little fellow. Search carefully. If we can stop these 3 people, we might find something unexpected. Qiao Xian was looking forward to it. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly heard a commotion from another direction. Why can't we go in? Too domineering. It's not like this is owned by your family. Aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of the masses with your actions? Qiao Xian frowned and went over in a flash. He saw 7 ordinary Aurus core cultivators trying to enter the core region, but they were stopped by the Qiao family cultivators. Scram if you don't want to die! Qiao Xian released the aura of a nascent soul stage cultivator. The 7 people paled and hurriedly fled. Qiao Xian only watched without taking action. Situations like this had happened many times since the beginning. Qiao Sui had taken away 800 Aurus core cultivators, but he had only left 200 behind. However, those he had left behind were all late-stage Aurus core cultivators, and 2 of them were mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivators. Such an overall strength was definitely one of the best in the Grotto Heaven mystic realm. There was no other. However, Qiao Xian only guarded the core region and prevented anyone from entering. He did not kill anyone. Indeed, as these people had said, he was also worried about incurring the wrath of the masses. Now, many people were watching the core region. If they were to kill in public, it might cause the scattered cultivators to band together. We can only hold them back for a while. Once Swayer returns, we'll have to let them go. Qiao Xian was very clear about the situation. If they were to hold them back for too long, something would happen sooner or later. After all, there were more than 20,000 foreign cultivators. The Qiao family did not have the strength to face the wrath of so many people at the same time. He only wanted to be the first to enter the altar and obtain the inheritance once he had enough doctrine crystals. Before that, no one was allowed to enter. Of course, just because he did not kill anyone here did not mean that the Qiao family would not kill anyone. That was why he had sent his son Qiao Sui out as a backup. At the same time, on a mountaintop not far from the core region, Jiangxi was standing there with the Wen family siblings. They had also seen what had just happened. The Qiao family deserves to die. The Wen family siblings were furious and worried at the same time. With the Qiao family guarding, it would be difficult to enter the inheritance altar. 1 late-stage nascent soul stage cultivator, 2 mid-stage nascent soul stage cultivators, and 2 late-stage Aurus core cultivators. Such an overall strength was not inferior to Qiao Sui's group. Don't worry, they'll let them go. Jiangxi's expression was calm. He was not anxious at all. This was obvious. If Qiao Xian still dared to hold them back when more people arrived and angered the cultivators, it would be strange if they did not beat their brains out. Moreover, Feng Si, Xing Yuqing, and the rest had yet to make a move. Would these geniuses from the top immortal sects be willing to be held back? Chapter 269. Following that, many ordinary cultivators were stopped by the Qiao clan. Although many of them were furious, they did not dare to make a move. Faced with 3 nascent soul cultivators and 200 golden core late-stage cultivators, if they wanted to enter the core area, they would have to form an alliance and become stronger than the Qiao clan cultivators. The problem was that they were all competitors and were wary of each other. It would be difficult to get them to form an alliance unless they were at their wits' end. This was also the reason why Qiao Xian dared to stop them. As time passed, more and more cultivators discovered the core area and saw the majestic altar. They knew that the inheritance was located there. Therefore, more and more cultivators gathered in the core area. The Qiao clan cultivators continued to stop others from entering, relying on their strength. A feeling of anger and dissatisfaction brewed among the cultivators and became more and more dangerous. Soon, a team of 100 cultivators flew over from the western region at high speed. The leader was Jin Yuqing, a nascent soul cultivator from the Four Symbols sect of the Minglan Star region. Jin Yuqing stopped at the edge of the core area and saw the many Qiao clan cultivators guarding the sky, as well as Qiao Xian. "Qiao Xian, what's the meaning of this?" he asked in a low voice. Of course, he knew that the ruling clan of the Murong planet was the Qiao clan, but he did not want to reveal it to Feng Si and the others. Qiao Xian flew over and chuckled. "Greetings, fellow Taoists from the Four Symbols sect. If you want to enter, please enter." Then, he ordered his clansmen to disperse. He knew that stopping them was the limit. If he continued, something bad might happen. Moreover, Qiao Sui had already sent him a message and would be back soon. It did not matter whether he stopped them or not. However, Jin Yuqing did not immediately step into the sea of fire of the Blood Prohibition Trigram Fire Formation. A thoughtful look appeared on his rugged face. He was a genius disciple of a top immortal Tao sect and had seen many things. He could easily tell that the sea of fire in front of him was actually a powerful formation. This sea of fire formation vaguely exudes a trace of the Tao of heaven and earth. It must be a test left behind by that immortal integration expert. The Tao essence contained in those Tao crystals is almost the same as here. According to the sect's records of some immortal integration places of inheritance, it can be inferred that those Tao crystals are key items to pass the test. But I still have to be careful. I can't go in first. Thinking of this, Jin Yuqing said to a disciple of the same sect, "Refine these Tao crystal, go in and try." As he spoke, he took out 3 Tao crystals and handed them to the disciple. People were sacrificing their lives to explore the way. Qiao Xian had not retreated too far. When he saw Jin Yuqing's actions, he sighed inwardly. Unexpectedly, this Jin Yuqing was a very meticulous person despite his ferocious appearance. As expected, none of the genius disciples of the top immortal Tao sects were easy to fool. To be honest, Qiao Xian did not know how powerful this blood-forbidden trigram fire array was. After all, apart from the members of the Wen clan, no one else had entered before. Therefore, Qiao Xian adopted a wait-and-see attitude. He wanted to see what would happen after the Four Symbols sect disciples entered. The Four Symbols sect disciples' expression changed when he heard Jin Yuqing's request, but he could not refuse. Because Jin Yuqing was a genius of the sect, and he was just an ordinary disciple. He grabbed 3 fingernail-sized Tao crystals and quickly refined them. Then, he felt strands of powerful Tao power in his body, as if they were about to break out of his body. He gritted his teeth and directly charged into the sea of fire in front of him. Strangely, after entering the sea of fire, he felt some kind of restriction. He could not fly and could only run with all his might. His speed was only slightly faster than ordinary people. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Puff! This middle-stage Golden Core Four Symbols sect disciple only ran 100 meters in the sea of fire before he dissipated into thin air like smoke. Seeing such a scene, the ordinary cultivators who were guarding outside the core area were stunned. A middle-stage Golden Core Four Symbols sect disciple only lasted 3 seconds in the sea of fire? What kind of fire was this sea of fire? Many people wanted to retreat. The inheritance was important, but their lives were more important. On the other side, Jin Yuqing had more or less confirmed his conjecture then. He had another late-stage Golden Core disciple refine 10 Tao crystals and entered the sea of fire again. That disciple had a look of despair as he ran with all his might toward the inheritance altar. However, he only lasted 10 seconds. After running a full 500 meters, he was still turned into ashes by the sea of fire. Jing Yuqing's eyes flashed. The death of his two fellow disciples did not affect his mood at all. What he was concerned about was the distance these two fellow disciples had covered in the sea of fire. The first disciple, after refining 3 Tao crystals, persisted for 3 seconds and ran out 100 meters. The second disciple used 10 Tao crystals to last 10 seconds and ran 500 meters. It was not surprising that this powerful sea of fire array formation would suppress a cultivator's cultivation and speed. After all, this was the inheritance ground of a Tao integration elite. What was certain was that Tao crystals could withstand the power of the sea of fire array formation. Each Tao crystal could last for 1 second. The edge of the sea of fire is about 100,000 meters away from the altar. Based on this calculation, a round trip would take about 5,000 Tao crystals. I only have 90,000 Tao crystals. Considering that I'll have to spend a lot of time obtaining the inheritance at the altar, these Tao crystals are not enough. Jing Yuqing's gaze swept across the cultivators around him. Then, he noticed Feng Si and Fu Zai who were hidden among the cultivators. He looked at Qiao Xian and suddenly had an idea. In the distance, on an inconspicuous mountain peak. Uncle Granduncle? The Wen clan siblings turned to look at Jiang Xi. With their ancestral land in front of them, the two of them were anxious to enter. At the same time, they were worried that someone would enter the altar before them. Jiang Xi shook his head slightly and told them to calm down. Many people had yet to make a move. At that moment, the situation changed. Someone had made a move. Without any warning, Qiao Xian waved his hand and slapped a few times at the ordinary cultivators who were watching from the periphery of the core area. The raging power of the domain and the blazing flames instantly formed a firestorm that looked like it could destroy the world. Hundreds of golden core cultivators in that area were slapped to death instantly. Their storage Dharma treasures were swept away by Qiao Xian's domain power. Qiao Xian was not the only one. Jing Yuqing, Feng Si, Fu Zai, and the others in their training teams also made a move at the same time. The 4 sides reached a consensus to kill these ordinary cultivators. Most of the fire spirits had been killed, but these cultivators would definitely have Tao crystals on them. For a moment, chaos broke out everywhere. This is crazy! The major factions are killing people! Someone wanted to run away. Everyone, let's join forces and fight it out with them! Some people were hot-blooded and wanted to fight head-on. Take advantage of the chaos and charge into the sea of fire. Who knows, we might be able to reach the altar and obtain the inheritance. Some people were still holding on to hope. The ordinary cultivators were scattered and had their own plans. There was no way they could organize an effective resistance. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.